Now let's look at France. It's had another setback, this time in Central Africa. Yesterday it lost its last remaining base in the Sahel region. It has been asked to get out of Chad. Chad is a country in Central Africa. It was once a French colony, like a lot of other African nations. Chad became autonomous on 28 November 1958 and it became fully independent 2 years later in 1960. But the 28th of November is still a special date in Chad. It marks an important step towards freedom, which is why Chad chose yesterday, the 28th of November, to break with France again. Their government put out this notice. It terminated a defense agreement. The agreement allowed France to deploy troops in Chad. But now Chad has torn it up, which means French troops deployed there will have to leave. There are 1,000 French soldiers deployed here. They will have to start packing up soon. But how did this happen? What led to this? Look at the timing. The French foreign minister has just concluded his visit to Chad. He met with Chad's president, Mohamed Deby. We don't know what they discussed, but right after that meeting, Chad tore up the defense pact. Their foreign minister said, and I'm quoting, France must now also consider that Chad has grown up, matured, and is a sovereign state that is very jealous of its sovereignty. It's an understandable reason. Why should Western powers station their troops in former colonies? Imagine if the British left thousands of soldiers in India. If British troops remained here decades after India's independence, it wouldn't have been acceptable to us. So we do understand wanting to guard sovereignty, but this is only one part of the story. There are two more. To understand the second part, we need to zoom in. France had many colonies in Africa. Let's show you a belt stretching from Chad all the way to Mauritania. All these former colonies hosted French troops. They were all part of a security grouping called the G5 Sahel. All these former French colonies were dealing with a common problem, terrorism. That was France's justification to deploy troops. But they failed to fix the problem. They failed to contain the terrorist groups. So slowly, the African nations started getting annoyed. Three of them recently had coups: Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Their militaries overthrew the civilian governments, and then they kicked out the French troops as well. These coup-hit Sahel nations blame France for their terror problem. They say the French troops were not doing enough. And ordinary people seem to agree because anti-France sentiment has been brewing in the Sahel. It's prevalent in Chad as well. And this may have contributed to the government's decision. The third and the last reason for this break may have been Russia. Moscow has been courting African nations, especially former French colonies. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have all switched allies. They kicked out the French and they brought in the Russians. Russian mercenaries to help the military juntas. And Chad has a similar situation. President Mohamed Deby is the son of a military dictator. His father, Idris Deby, ruled for 30 years. Mohamed took over after he died. He orchestrated a coup and then held what is called a questionable election to consolidate power. So Deby may also want some Russian support to shore up his legitimacy. Russia has been reaching out to Chad. They've signed a few deals, and a broader alliance is definitely possible. All these factors have influenced Chad's latest move. The desire for sovereignty, the anti-France sentiment, the desire for Russian support. Stronghold in the Sahel, now it has fallen. And France's troubles may not be over yet. There are rumblings from another former French colony, Senegal. Senegal's president has also taken aim at French troops. He says their time is almost up. So it looks like things will get worse for Paris in the days to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades. Oh, my connection is messed up a little bit, but we'll get it back. We'll get it back. We're not giving up. Anyways, so what am I trying to say here? As we have seen, there has been a trend in the Sahel nations, the West African nations that were being colonized by the French. I told you some videos back that Putin said, for me to make, I'm paraphrasing, to make the French crumble, because the French are part of the NATO, and they are the ones who are, besides the United States and Germany and Poland, they are actually spearheading this expansionist NATO move through Ukraine that's causing the conflict. And I said, Putin was quoted saying that for me to make the French crumble, I'll simply empower the African colonies that France heavily depend on. And that's what he basically did. He went to Burkina Faso, he went to Chad, he went to Mali, he went to now, I think Senegal too. And you can see the French economy is crumbling fast. Even there was a vote of no confidence for Macron. Macron is going to step down because the people are not supporting him. The former French president, I forgot his name in the 90s, this old man, not Charles de Gaulle. What was it? Chirac, I forgot his first name, famously said that without the African colonies, France will be a third world nation. Okay. They were still charging Senegal, among other countries, billions, I think 500 billion a year or something like that, claiming that those were colonial debts that Senegal incurred while the French were colonizing them. They're claiming that they built things like roads, railway stations, and that's why the Senegalese have to pay them. So you see how the French has always heavily relied on the West African nations. Now, yes, KK. And now you see there's a trend, as I mentioned. Putin recognized this, and so he decided, the best way to actually do this, make the French crumble, is to hit them financially, economically. The French economy, again, as I said, they heavily depend on African nations. Uranium that they got from Chad, uranium that they got from Burkina Faso, uranium that they got from Mali, the oil that they got from Burkina Faso. Remember, when Burkina Faso took power, Mr. Ibrahim Traore, the first thing that they did was take control of their uranium. Not only that, also their gold production. And everything they wanted to produce by themselves, they tell the French, you have to leave. Remember, Victoria Nunen was trying to negotiate a deal. Victoria Nunen was one of the Biden's negotiator, emissary, who went to try to talk Traore into striking an oil deal and uranium deal with Burkina Faso. And Ibrahim Traore told him, no, thank you. You have to leave our country too. And as we speak right now, the French are leaving or has already left Burkina Faso. Same thing with Mali. Same thing with the other nation. I forgot their name, which makes the Sahel nation. And now you see Senegal also following suit. Chad also, as we saw that in that news piece. So you see these countries are kicking out foreign powers. Remember, the French, they claim that they were in Senegal, they claim that they were in Chad, they were in Burkina Faso to stop terrorism. And not only that, these Senegalese, the people in that Sahel nation, they discovered that it was actually the French who were helping the terrorists to take over, to destabilize these nations in order to keep hold of the natural resources of those countries. Now, where am I going with this? Because you might be asking, hey, so what does that have to do with Ruto? Well, what I'm trying to say to you in not so many words is that the balance is tilting. The pendulum is swinging. And there's a wave, new wave of revolutions, revolutions happening in African nations. As we said, most of the African youth are looking at the East to get away from this whole, Western, let me not say capitalistic system, but I'm just saying colonized system of debt and all this stuff, where they dictate to this country, those countries that they colonize, how to govern, what democracy is, to help you bring you to Ninium. Thank you, Justin. I see you in the comment section. You're telling me Ruto ain't going anywhere. We'll see. Now, to help you bring you home, because I know, again, you might be asking, what does that have to do with Ruto? Ruto seems to be sitting pretty. Now, let's look at our neighbors, a very, very, very close neighbor here, Uganda. Museveni, if you remember, Museveni was brought to power by the help of the Americans. He was receiving intelligence that helped him remove, what's his name, Idi Amin, okay? And in fact, Museveni was the first one to go to the State House right after he took power to thank the Americans and assured Reagan that he would deal with Gaddafi, because Gaddafi was the biggest problem back then. Gaddafi was having a lot of influence in the mid 80s when he came to power, okay? And at that time, Gaddafi had a problem with the US, okay? You remember the ship, the US ship that was bombed by Libya, okay? Now, what I'm trying to say is this. Museveni was a very close ally to the US until recently, when under Biden administration, when they asked Museveni, of course, Uganda was also taking the American debt, the IMF debts. And the IMF, of course, the World Bank, if you take their loans, they will spell out how to use it and what you need to grow, what you not need to grow, and what you need to import. And they will tell you about, accepting LGBT and all that stuff. Okay? Yes, KK. So, Museveni dared to say no to the US during Biden's administration. And before we know it, he was slapped with some sanctions. Uganda was slapped with some sanctions, which I think they're still on up to this day. Okay? But Museveni told them, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. Museveni read the room and saw the light. He saw the trend seems to be heading up east. And he was one of the few East African leaders who made their way to Russia for the Russo-American meeting that happened, I think it was earlier this year or last year, in Moscow. He went there in person and shook hands with Putin and said, hey, now we are looking at Putin as our new friend. And now you see why Uganda is facing all these sanctions, just by the fact that they refused to the Union. Now, if Museveni has already done that, of course, Museveni is doing that for his own survival. Museveni always will do anything for his survival, because he knows if he turns against the Americans are going to try to remove him, okay? Don't worry about Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine will not remove Museveni. Bobby Wine is part of the CIA. He's a guy who's been given money by CIA. Don't worry about him. He's a controller position. Basige might be, I think, what's his name? He might be a bigger threat than Bobby Wine. But let's get to Kenya. Now, you remember when Ruto, in the beginning of the year, also wanted to make his way to Russia, but the American ambassador made a very curious statement where she said, I don't think it will be a good idea for Ruto to go for that meeting. I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing my stuff. My camera is now messed up. Today I'm telling you, Leo navamiwa kweli kweli. But bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades. We will work this out. Ni sawa tu, ni sawa. Shida iko wapi? Leo tutashi. Ile atakiko leo. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm sorry. Today, let me fix my ninio. The struggle continues. Yes, leo majamaa wanakazana kweli kweli na mimi eh? Ai, tutapambana vilivyo, Don't worry, do not worry, my friends. We are here. Let me fix this. Tutaifix kabisa, tutafix kila kitu. Okay, so let me fix this real quick. Anyway, as I was saying, so as soon as Museveni turned against the West, Museveni became the enemy, and Museveni also saw it convenient to join the East, which is Russia. And Ruto was warned not to go to that Russia African summit, and he sent Mutua instead. That charlatan, that sellout, that slave trader. So anyway, so you can see even Ruto was nervous during the Gen Z movement. He was worried that maybe it could be the Russians who are behind this coup d'etat movement. Now listen carefully as I go to the next step. This is what I want to say. Now, once Russia is done with the French will start economically, will be very dependent on Germany and other NATO countries, especially the US, for natural gas and stuff like that, because Africa is closing door on them. Now, the next country that will probably face some difficulties economically will probably be the UK. As I said, United States can hold their own. They're the biggest economy within the NATO countries, besides Germany. Actually, Germany is the big boy in Europe as far as economics. Britain, against they depend solely on, again, Africa, and also their naval ships and guns and their military to maintain power. So the next step, as you see, remember last week, Russia, Putin said that, if the NATO proceed, because remember they gave Ukraine the okay to attack Russia inside Russia. And Putin said that if they attack Moscow, one of the Western cities might also face the same fate. And he may mention London or Washington might also face the same fate. I don't know if you've heard about the Urashnik missiles. They're kind of like semi-nuke bombs, which Russia is using right now. They used it in Ukraine, and actually it cleared out. I don't know what city it was. Russia gave a warning before they even attacked that Ukrainian city, and NATO is said to have no answers for this Urashnik. I think it's what's called. It's a very quick, fast, no missile intervention can stop it. This thing is supersonic. I mean, it moves with quick. It's very fast, faster than your regular intercontinental ballistic missile. It's called Urashnik. Go ahead and just Google it and read it for yourself. NATO has no answer for this, and it can penetrate through any military bunker that you might have. It scorches the earth to 5,000 degrees. That's how bad. I mean, it's like a nuke, basically. So we are facing off. The war is escalating. People are praying. Even Trump had to send his team to go talk Putin down and tell him, hey, listen, calm down. After January 20th, when I take power, we might negotiate for a peaceful deal. Of course, Joe Biden is trying to do it. Again, if depending on who you're listening, there are people who are saying that Joe Biden is trying to start a nuclear warfare. That way we can have martial law and he will extend his power. Now, those are things that everyone is talking about, but the reality is Russia and the United States, the leading NATO, is not in a good place. They have tensions, and their allies, in sub-Saharan Africa, being Kenya being the number one non-NATO country, if there was any kind of attack in Africa, Ruto might put Kenya in a very, very difficult situation. So what I suspect is that I won't be surprised if Russia would be looking at Kenya as one of the countries that they would like to have what I call a soft coup d'etat. It might be something that will be led by maybe Gen Zs, or if things go worse, it might take military, or they might ask Ruto, please resign, because by all indications, Ruto is not popular. And you can see the shenanigans that he's trying to pull off, whether it's the IEBC stuff, whether it's these new funny laws that he keeps on bringing up, knowing that in 2027 he'll have to rig. So he's trying to at least get to 2027 with the hopes that he will rig the elections. But time might be running out for Ruto, because he is becoming unpopular by the day. I mean, this guy is the most unpopular president in Kenya that I ever seen. I mean, Uhuru Kenyatta was unpopular, but at least there were some quarters who still saw him as someone who's, kind of a leader. But this man, from the day he came in, his die was cast. No one is buying anything. He says, in fact, he has lost every legitimacy, the little legitimacy that he had, even the parliament too. So you can see Kenyans are slowly, and not even slowly, quickly, rapidly rallying around this idea that Ruto must go. And we are going to that point. So I won't be surprised if the Russians might have a hand in this, because I think Kenya is a strategic country, that if they have a leader that will close shop, shut down those military bases that we have. I think we have two in Kenya. I think one in Nanyuki, or one another in Lamu somewhere. You had the news that Ruto wanted to have another two of American bases. Americans wanted to have two other bases in Kenya, but that was still in negotiation. It depends with what Trump will decide. We don't know yet. Like I said, as you heard in the clip, Russia are making inroads. They're being aggressive in Africa, winning over Africa by helping them, stave off or move away from Western colonialists through their mercenaries, whether it's the formerly known as Wagner. I think they have a new name now, and it's officially being run by. So what I'm saying is this: as we Kenyan people ask for change, I think the signs are there. I really, really, really doubt if Ruto will reach 2027. I really, really, really doubt this man will make it there, because we can see from everything that's happening in the country, nobody likes this guy. Do not be fooled by the crowds that were paid by Ojenda in Nyanza province. Do not be fooled by the crowds that were there in the western region of Kenya. Do not be fooled by the crowds you see in the coast province that are paid by Ruto. Do not be fooled by that. No one likes this guy. The only people that can tolerate him is maybe a few people in his in Rift Valley. And even Rift Valley, not everyone is happy with Ruto. Of course, they don't want to show that they abandoned their son, but it's very clear for everyone to see that Ruto's days are numbered. He's not popular by no means. Now, let's get to let's just have an open session here. I want to talk about this whole Ruto and ODM newfound marriage. I think it's a non-starter, and these people might be hanged together politically speaking, because Raila will be having a debate next Friday for the AU seat. Most people are predicting that this thing is not going to go through, and he will be forced to come back to Kenya and meddle in the local politics. But let's just listen in for the news clip, and I will put the link for anyone who wants to come in. Let's just see what these guys are talking about. What is this all about? Hold. Given 2 minutes. I mean, a few minutes, sorry. All right, hold on 1 second, and we'll talk about all this stuff and what Judge Laniola who spoke about the IBC, which is a thorn in the administration's whatever. All right, let's see here. Here is
2 weeks. President William Ruto has mainly toured ODM strongholds in what is now being seen as an attempt to rally the Nyanza and coast regions behind him in preparation for the 2027 general elections. Ruto has been to Kisumu, which is a former ODM leader Raila Odinga's backyard, Taita Taveta, as well as Kilifi. And the only times he has not been in either Nyanza or the coast, the president has been in Kajiado and Machakos, which have also overwhelmingly supported Raila in the past. Could this be a coincidence? So is the president going for Raila's strolls, having said the mountain region is slipping through his fingers after the impeachment of his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua? NTV's political affairs reporter David Muthoka interrogates.
On Tuesday last week, President William Ruto returned to Kondele at the heart of Kisumu County, where for years, Ruto had unofficially been banned by residents from ever stepping foot. In 2021, for example, his convoy was torn, with most of his campaign vehicles fleeing with either shattered windscreens or damaged side mirrors. However, this was not the case on 26th November, when Ruto's convoy sneaked through Kondele. A sea of residents greeted the president, and what was once enemy territory embraced the head of state as if he was the biblical prodigal son.
Mimi nilisimama hapa Kondele, nikasema siku moja nilisaidia Agwambo, na safari hii yeye amerudisha mkono, amenisaidia mimi. Mimi nawauliza, iko makosa hapo?
After leaving Kondele, the president has been to more predominantly opposition zones in what now seems as an attempt to raid the traditional strongholds of Raila, who is vying for the African Union Commission chairperson seat with Ruto's blessings and financial backing. On Monday and Tuesday, the president spent his time in the coastal county of Taita Taveta, where he launched several developmental projects as well as presided over the groundbreaking ceremony of an 11 billion shilling iron ore processing plant in Manga, Voi.
How unpatriotic!
It is in Manga where some of Ruto's hitherto harshest critics from Nyanza and coast regions, and who are now in government, defended the president in a manner that may have caught even the head of state by surprise.
Kwa sababu ya kisiasa za kizembezembe, unaweza kusema they must fall. We will come for you, my friend. Tuko na mdomo kama wewe. Ukileta tunaleta.
Tumesema kama yale yalikuwa kwa manifesto yetu yanafanyika, hakuna kitu ya kupinga. Sasa tunangoja kitu ya kupinga.
After Taita Taveta, the president proceeded to Kilifi on Thursday before pitching camp in Machakos this Friday. From Ukambani, the president is expected to return down south to the coast region to officially open the East Africa Community Inter-Parliamentary Games, which will run until 18th December. Ruto's decision to pitch camps in the coast and Nyanza regions comes amid reports that he is considering forming a coalition with the ODM party on the foundation of the broad-based government, where some of Raila's allies were appointed to crucial government dockets to make up for the Mount Kenya region, which, having supported him in 2022, appears to be slipping away due to the impeachment of his former deputy, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua. And on Friday, the ODM party's interim boss, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, dropped the clearest indication yet of an ODM-UDA alliance, stating, and I quote, "ODM does not play second fiddle or trumpet the interests of any other political party. However, as a political entity, we understand the value of strategic partnerships." Nyong'o continues, and I quote, "From time to time, we may choose to form alliances and other coalitions with other parties or groups that align with our objectives and vision for Kenya." Nyong'o's statement was followed by this statement from Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Wandayi, who is among beneficiaries of the plum cabinet positions given to ODM, which says, and I quote, "We are not ashamed. We have no regrets whatsoever and have no apologies for having made a conscious decision to work from within government under the leadership of our leader, Raila Odinga." The ODM party is still part of the opposition Azimio coalition, but has constantly been criticized by other parties in the coalition of abandoning the opposition to work with the government. David Muthoka, NTV, Nairobi.
You know, what's shocking about this whole Ruto tour? Ruto is campaigning already. He feels threatened. He knows he has lost the mountain. And he's hanging on Raila's coattails. The problem with depending on Raila is that Raila also is unpopular by the mere fact that he has joined hands with a president who is very unpopular. Now, you can look at this thing two ways. Okay? It's a marriage of convenience, just like the handshake we saw with Uhuru. Now, Raila on his hand, what is he gaining? Of course, they are propping him up as this AU candidate, which is grossly unqualified for. And also Raila's minions this time who said, you know, Raila cannot go there by himself. They also need to eat. So he had to throw in Hassan Joho to help Ruto in turn to try to get him some votes from the coast region. Threw in Wandayi, threw in the former Kakamega governor Oparanya to try to get him some Western province support. Okay, so that's the game that he's playing here. So Ruto is gaining, is hoping that he will gain support from the Western province, Nyanza province, and coastal province. That is done in his mind. He's doing the calculation that those gentlemen that he has chosen and brought in the cabinet to eat this loot that he has been looting since he got in will help him harvest vote from their respective communities. That's why Ruto is busy going from Western Province, Nyanza, and Coast and doing the same rounds again in the hopes that the people there will vote for him during 2027. Okay? Now, like I mentioned, Raila and those minions that have joined Ruto are hoping, you know, to get the enjoy the loot from government. Okay, big salaries and all that on the other. You know how the deal. And Raila, as I mentioned, he's going to AUC, hoping that he will win the AUC. Okay. Now the problem with that calculation is this: majority of Kenyans, if you even start with ODM, you saw there about this ODM and UDA nexus or coalition that they want to form here. Okay, the working relationship they are trying to form or they've formed. Okay, the problem with it is even within ODM itself, the likes of Babu Owino and among other influential members of the party who feel disgruntled. They feel like these old folks, their time has and they are only holding them back. Okay, so ODM itself is not as steady. It does not command a lot of support. Okay, their supporters in Nyanza, yes, I would say that they're still the biggest party. I mean, they command a lot of support in Nyanza province, but even within their supporters, majority of them are not so excited about their party itself. Now, if you go to the Western region, let's say what we used to call the Western province, I don't think ODM is the most a popular party in the western region. Okay, of course we have the Tawe guy and others, okay, Tata and Selassie, who's breathing down Raila's neck. So even that calculation does not guarantee any votes for Ruto. A few here, a few there, but not the majority. Definitely not majority. Same thing with Nyanza. There'll be voter apathy as we have mentioned. Okay, and here's what might be the game changer. What if Raila does not make it to the AU? Will he decide to come back and realign himself with what seems to be popular? Because let's not fool ourselves here. Ruto is not popular. Raila is not popular. Every majority of Kenyans, okay, majority of Kenyans, even don't make this thing a tribal thing. Even with you, Luo Nyanza, okay, they just stand with some of them because of what they can get. But majority of people in Nyanza province, majority in Coast province, majority in Western province, they do not like this duo of Raila and Ruto. They hate Ruto because of what Ruto has been doing, the economy and all that stuff. And they do not like Raila because he has been doing the same thing, all again, conning people, lying, pretending to be this leader who aspires to take Kenyans to Canaan, but is simply a wheeler dealer. He makes deal with whoever dictator who is in power at the time. So everyone is tired of these two, and they're working together. So they can't convince the masses that they are the dynamic duo. There's nothing dynamic about these two. They're two rejects. So the question is, are we going to have another twist and turn if Raila fails to make it to the AUC? Remember, he's not so far away from that time. We'll find out in February, because I believe that's when the elections shall take place, where the heads of the AUC shall vote on who should be the AUC chairperson. Okay? And remember, after what happened in Basije, Kenya's alignment with the West being an entity, the powers that are not popular right now in the African continent. And Ruto, along with Raila, are seen as the Western puppets, Western effigy that represent that old colonial puppet. I doubt if they'll get the votes. I can't see the president of Botswana voting for someone like Raila. I don't see the leaders of the northern part, Arab-speaking leaders voting for Raila Odinga. I don't see the leaders of the Western Africa voting for Raila Odinga, bar a few people like Tinubu and a few others, maybe like the other Ghanaian president. I don't see Raila winning. So that's what I'm saying. Raila being an opportunist, because remember, Raila will not always make deal with whoever pays him, and he has to survive politically, because if he fails the AUC, he will come back to Kenya. And if he reads the writing on the wall, and the wall, as we know, is written clearly that Ruto is in trouble in 2027, I don't see Raila staying in this UDA alignment, regardless of how much money they can give him. Remember, you only receive money if you know there's something to gain. Because if Raila still take the bribe by Ruto to stick it out till 2027, that means they shall be hanged together, because 2027 will be clearly these two are going to lose. And there will be a possible popular revolution, which will have them both probably politically hanged. So the reason why I'm saying this is this: if February the votes, the heads of states of the African Union go to the ballot or whatever, they make their secret ballots and vote to choose the guy from not Seychelles, the Eritrea, and Raila loses the AUC seat which he has been promised. If he comes back to Kenya, do you think he will stick to Kenya? I mean, stick to this arrangement with Ruto? because Ruto is not planning on stepping down to let Raila become the presidential candidate in this UDA or DM arrangement, okay? And Raila will not be agree to sit out or to play the second fiddle, to use the word of Anyang' Nyong'o, to the UDA. So what will Raila do? Raila will probably do what he always have done when we are approaching any electioneering period. He will try to reinvent himself. And what he will do, he will first disassociate himself with the president. He will start telling us his lies, usual lies, and try to tell us that, oh, I sent my professionals to go help Ruto, but you can see nothing happened. They were ostracized, and things did not work out. So I'm coming back to the people. Because also you have to remember, Raila, even within ODM, he faces some threats, like Mr. Babu Owino, who is growing in influence. The Sifunas were lambasting, critiquing, criticizing, speaking sternly against what Joho, who is a close ally of Raila, about his matamshi yake as it relates to the internet, Kenyans in the internet. So you can see these two young folks, Sifunas and Babu Owinos, are not going to sit pretty and watch Raila run again in 2027, holding majority of them who might have presidential aspirations. Let Raila again run as president. They will not sit pretty. They'll either leave ODM and let Baba do his reinventing by himself. Okay, reinvent himself by himself. Okay, so that is a possibility, and I think that is what will happen. Raila will come back, and he will be being a fox that he is, cunning as he is. He will try to act like he is not together with Ruto anymore, and try to garner some sympathy from his tribe. And don't be surprised if Raila will try to come back and hold hands with Kalonzo Musyoka. We know Kalonzo Musyoka cannot make his mind on anything. He's just someone who you can use as a toilet paper. So I won't be surprised if Raila comes back and join hands with someone like Kalonzo Musyoka, join hands with Rigathi Gachagua, join hands with the other side, okay, in order to take out Ruto right before the election. You'll see Raila Odinga again making press conferences talking about the corruption that he has been involved in, but blaming it on Ruto's regime. You'll see Raila Odinga talking about the killing of the young people. You'll see Raila Odinga trying to organize the maandamano before the elections. You'll see Raila Odinga trying to, okay, reinvent himself, as you know, to try to live up in his fake reputation as being someone who has been fighting for Kenyans. You'll see Raila Odinga doing this because he knows he will understand that Ruto is done in 2027, and the only way to politically survive is to stand against Ruto. And of course, after 2027, you'll hear the same script. If there's any rigging, you'll see Raila in the forefront, leading a maandamano, ending up in the courts and having another form of government of national unity, blood-based government, whatever you want to call it, BBI. You'll see that again. It will happen. That is how Raila plays politics. You might ask, what makes you think so? Or we only have to look at 2002 when Moi did not choose him to be the KANU presidential candidate. Moi alimruka and chose Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta as the presidential candidate. And Raila dipped. After that, he said, no, I'm not staying here. I'm too big for my britches. And he went and joined Kibaki. After reading the room, he knew Kenyans were going to vote for Kibaki regardless whether he was to stay in KANU or not. So he had to jump and go and join Kibaki in order to say that when history is written in the books, my name was among the people who were with Kibaki, who removed Moi. But the reality is Raila was KANU in Ndani. So that's why I'm saying in 1997, in 2027 will be similar to 2002, where the country shall stand overwhelmingly against Ruto. And at that point, Raila will be a few weeks before the election, Raila will try to realign himself with the most popular political movement or alignment or outfit, whatever it is, so that he can kind of reinvent himself and survive another political storm. And when the history is being read, he wants his name to be among those who were counted as being fighting for Ruto. As you remember, when the Gen Zs went to the streets and they were almost removing Ruto, Raila was quiet, but he was kind of making statement, try to hoodwink, fool people that he was with Gen Z, but in reality, he was not. Until, the Gen Z thing started being arresting people and killing people, and Gen Zs were kind of dying out. And that's when Raila also went and put the final nail against the Gen Z. We can see this. So this man cannot be trusted with anything. That's why I'm saying it will be very, very interesting to see what happens when he loses that AU seat. It will be very, 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 very interesting to see. I can't wait personally. I want to see what will happen. I feel like these two might end in 2027, or even before that. We're about to see. But anyway, Laniola had something to say today that kind of sent shockwaves throughout Kenya. Let's hear what he has to say, and then we shall address that. Here is Justice Laniola.
Isaac Lenaola has blasted the executive and parliament for laxity in reconstituting. Let's take a look at that. In reconstituting the expense of laws that affect the citizens directly. Intelligence, digital and social media in elections in Kenya. Lenaola questioned the timing of the failure of the judiciary e-filing system during the hearing of the impeachment case against the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, and the readiness of the system to handle important matters. Emmanuel Tor reports.
In an explosive presentation on social media during election,
for example, we are busy passing legislation very quickly on other subjects that are politically important. But we don't look at what is extremely important for this country. The Electoral Commission have an Electoral Commission. When will this commission be prepared?
Lenaola raising an alarm over the timing of the malfunction experienced in the judiciary's e-filing system when the impeachment case against the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was underway.
Those of you who followed the Rigiji saga will remember that at some point the judiciary website, the online filing system went down. I want you to carry this question into 2027. Why did that online platform collapse? Why did the firewalls that we created before 2022 suddenly become vulnerable? And imagine what may happen in 2027. I will say no more, but think about it.
The judiciary experienced a system outage that affected 3 key platforms used in legal processes when the case was ongoing, affecting the e-filing system, the case tracking system, and the course list system.
By the way, I would not expect me to say Parliament has done wrong, the President has not done. I speak my mind because the
judge rallying Kenyans to stand up and force the reconstitution of the polls body. to allow them enjoy their democratic rights.
Why don't we, for example, have a hashtag, appoint IBC now, and spread it? Those who have opportunity will actually follow it, and they will do something. Why is social media, why is the IBC not being constituted? Because Azimio can't appoint their representative to the panel.
Much has been done to assess the impact of AI, social media in the electoral process. The challenges posed by deepfakes, misinformation, disinformation, and the misuse of digital platforms highlight the urgent need for the collaboration among government, civil society, technology companies, and fact checkers.
The sentiments by the judge comes as the country continues to operate without IBC commissioners, less than 3 years to the next polls, with the election, which is a continuous process in limbo, with by-elections behind.
Oh, my connection.
I see a great future for.
Just to remind you, for those of you who, Lenaola just made it very clear. As you know, most of you, I think you've heard it by now. The Azimio part, what's left of it, they're still wrangling and fighting about the nominee, the people who have been nominated to be the part of the commissioners for the commissioner position. Okay, and again, they're pointing fingers at Kalonzo Musyoka. Let me remind you. Let me just remind a lot of people here, you guys, for whoever is going to watch on the repeat or whatever the case is, or who are watching here. This new appointment. Remember, we are going from 7 appointees, commissioners, to 9, and it was part of the NADCO report, which Kalonzo spearheaded. Remember, Raila sent Kalonzo, okay, to have that NADCO thing prepared, along with the people from UDA side, which were Aaron Cheriot, the people Hassan and all these idiots. Okay, remember, this was an idea. This idea came from the UDA ODM folks, because UDA is pretty much Kenya Kwanza most influential party within that coalition, and ODM is the most influential within the Azimio coalition. Jubilee already kind of left Azimio. Martha Karua didn't have any support within it. So let's just not forget this. I want you to keep this in mind, that NADCO agreement, which is being implemented, was an idea that ODM and UDA came up with, or Kenya Kwanza and Azimio came up with. And they're even having trouble with their nominees. You had the press conference that I played in my second session, where there are a bunch of people from Ukambani who said it's Kalonzo who is holding them back. Some people have started saying, oh, let's point fingers at Kalonzo Musyoka. No. This is Azimio. Kalonzo Musyoka is just catching flack for what Azimio are doing. Okay? Now, let me remind you. Remember, there were some people who are even challenging the IBC Amendment Act. Because remember, they had to amend the IBC Act that was there originally. They had to amend it. And the process in which they did that is also questionable, unconstitutional. Where was public participation? You wonder why most of these government-affiliated talking heads are talking about getting rid of public participation, because they don't like what people did when it came to Adani. They don't like what people did with the Finance Act. They don't like it because there's some people who want to challenge that IBC Amendment Act, which emanated from the NADCO, which makes it unconstitutional, because the NADCO proposal that Raila signed and Ruto signed was not a people's initiative. These were a bunch of people who met outside of the parliament and drafted this NADCO nonsense, and they want to implement it, make it law. That's not how law is made. Any law should be sponsored by member of parliament, and we should have the process of public participation where you go back to mashinani and ask your people if it's something that's acceptable to them. Then you take it back and it's debated, and there's a 5 process about it. But this is something that was decided by not a panel of what? Was it 5 or 7 people sitting at the Bomas? Okay. So there's an illegality in the process in which this NADCO was formed. And this amendment, IBC Amendment Act, is illegal. Guess who was making a lot of noise that really wanted this Amendment Act? I'll remind you. I will remind you, ladies and gentlemen. I will remind you, because we lose focus very quickly. Hold on. I'll remind you. Here it is. I have the receipts. These are the same idiots that are now in State House enjoying the loot that Ruto is dashing out.
Dialogue Committee.
Hold on.
I was a member of the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO. A committee that was constituted very vicious clashes on the streets of Kenya, in all our major clashes that were revolved around him, clashes that about the 2022 elections. So we didn't go to the table because there was some strange and new love between us and Kenya Kwanza. I'm now talking as Azimio. And you know, when I speak as Azimio, I am speaking on behalf of the Azimio parliamentary group, which I lead in the National Assembly. Those talks did not happen because all of a sudden we became lovers, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. No. Those talks were initiated to restore calm and order in the country, because otherwise the country was teetering on a precipice. The country was basically veering towards lawlessness and the total collapse of governance. And the terms of reference of those of that committee were so clear. Now understand that some people are pushing for the reconstitution of the IEBC through an IBC selection panel that is now, for all intents and purposes, moribund. And our point is this, in summary, really. Any attempt to reconstitute the IEBC outside the framework that has been established by NADCO will be totally resisted. And if they go ahead and reconstitute the IEBC outside the NADCO framework, then that will only be an IEBC for Kenya Kwanza. It will not be an IEBC for Kenya.
Thank you for letting me know. So let me get it straight. Let me just say it again. When the elections were announced and they were not happy with the results, they say that they will respect the law and the process they are in, which they did go to the courts to challenge the results. And remember the now infamous quote by the justice who said it was hot air. Okay? So after it was said it was hot air, they were not still happy. They went out and started mandamano. Okay? And this mandamano was chaotic. Now, let's not beat around the bush. The Azimio protesters were violent. They were burning cars, throwing stones, and we are not going to also give the government response to that any, the police were using deadly forces, shooting people down. But basically, the Azimio knew very well that if they send people to the streets, there will be skirmishes, deadly skirmishes between the police and the supporters. We know about what happened in Yalenda and Kondele. I don't have to remind you. This is something they knew. So again, once this chaotic scene happened and people died and all this stuff happened, they said, you know what? Okay, now we got them where we want. They can't govern. All the major cities is embroiled in all this chaotic protest and stuff, okay? Remember, Raila had to reach out to Mainanjenga to help him with protesting Central Province, some pockets of Central Province, Nakuru and whatever the case is, okay? Because the mandamano was not even nationwide at first, okay? But nevertheless, that's what happened. There was deadly skirmishes between the police and Azimio supporters, and there were atrocities. We saw what happened, and this was being pushed on TV screens to make the Kenyan people fear. And the Haman Manyoras and the clergymen, of course, in their natural fashion, they came out and said the two must talk. Ruto and Raila must talk. So they forced Kenyans, making them believe that NADCO is what will bring peace. Like you hear this imbecile before he became the CS of I don't know what, energy, he's saying that we were at the precipice of what? Civil war. Okay? So they made us believe that just because they were out there. In fact, remember, their number one, at first they told us that they were fighting for electoral justice. After electoral justice, they started telling us it's because they want the servers to be open. They kept on shifting the goalpost. Then when there was a group, when they had Kenyans was complaining that the number one problem in Kenya is the high cost of living and not the electoral results, wakadandia mambo election, or wakadandia mambo high cost of living. And when they agreed on that NADCO, there was no high cost of living. They couldn't agree on high cost of living, but they agreed upon every nonsense that was in there, which includes the creation of prime ministerial position and other positions, which was going to force them to open to change the constitution, which means a referendum. And the number one thing on the agenda was what? Guess what? The reconstitution of the IBC. You heard when I talk about the reconstitution of the IBC, which he was talking about. He was pushing for. Okay? So even that amendment, IBC amendment law act that they passed was something that was formed in the NADCO. NADCO did not represent all Kenyans. NADCO only was a representation of the Kenya Kwanza coalition and Azimio coalition. It was never a Kenyan agreement. So you see what I'm saying? Let's continue and listen to these people. Because like I said, I keep on telling you people, the NADCO report is being implemented in stages. And they're doing so through all these shenanigans, throwing this all diversionary tactics. Listen carefully to this idiot before he became the CS of energy.
And we shall not recognize it. And the consequences of us not recognizing it are too obvious. for one not to know. We understand that there are hardliners who don't really care much where this country plunges into chaos or not. But let me caution them. Let me caution them that as Azimio, we are ready. Indeed, we have always been ready. We only gave peace a chance by engaging in dialogue. If you proceed to reconstitute the IBC outside NADCO, that will be the end of NADCO and anything else to do with it.
So basically, Wandai, in not so many words, is trying to say that Azimio was holding the country ransom. He was saying we only gave a chance to peace because of the negotiations surrounding NADCO, what they wanted. So if they didn't get this NADCO done, you heard him say they would have continued with their mess. Basically, civil war. Not civil disobedience, but civil war. The chaos that they were causing. So basically, Azimio is basically saying that they were holding the country at ransom. You do this or we're not going to have a country. It's up to them. Azimio. You see this thing? Then he wants to, they cause chaos and then force the president at the time, the government of the day, to come into a negotiating table and tell him, if you don't negotiate with us, we shall go to the streets and we shall have vita. Failure to do that. Holding the country ransom. They create this chaos to force and make Kenya believe that without Azimio getting what they want, the country shall not continue. And it's not only the Azimio side, it's also Kenya Kwanza side. This is what they wanted. They force Kenyan into believing that without them, there will be no country. Without them. That's why I mentioned at that point, I still call Azimio a terrorist organization. They use violence as a means to get to accomplish their political goals. I mentioned this, and they got mad up to me when I say that. Go look at the definition of what a terrorist is. The classic definition of it. They hold the country ransom with the help of Ruto. They knew very well that if they go to the streets, and by the way, they were not having a peaceful protest like the Gen Zs. Go look at the difference between Gen Zs protest and Azimio protest. It's day and night. The Azimio protesters were going there with mawe and they were wanachoma vitu, wanachoma magari, alafu remember when they were in that highway. They do these things knowing that the police who are poorly trained will respond violently. Then when we see people getting killed, people dying, innocent, the new lives are lost and property, they tell us, okay, you see, if you want this to continue, kubali NADCO yetu. Holding us for ransom, making us believe that Kenya cannot exist without these thugs. This is what they are, these terrorists. And then they tell us, that's why we need this NADCO. This is why we need this NADCO. This is why we want this IBC as we want it, not as the Constitution says. They're forcing us to accept these unconstitutionally passed laws by making us believe that without them, we shall have war. Listen, we have to remind you of what kind of people we have here.
Including those other proposals that are in that report. Then we shall be back to square one and nature shall take its course. So anybody who means well for this country must be careful. Must be careful. and shun any temptation to re-establish the IBC outside the NADCO process. As a matter of fact, Parliament is reconvening next week on Tuesday, 13th. We expect that the NADCO report is going to form or to be the priority agenda for the two houses of Parliament. Secondly, and finally on that issue, the IBC Secretariat should stop needless engagement with the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of National Assembly on matters which have been adequately addressed by NADCO. And no constitutional amendment will see the light of the day in Parliament unless there are those amendments that have been recommended by NADCO. And again, the IBC Secretariat must be reminded that the courts have pronounced themselves on this matter many times. An independent commission is only fully constituted if it has got commissioners. As things stand, the IBC is not constituted legally and constitutionally. So the Secretariat of IBC should stop wasting their time purporting to seek advisory opinion from the Attorney General on whether they can proceed and supervise elections. Let them hold their horses and wait for the reconstitution of the IBC through the NADCO.
And as a defender of justice in all the courts in the Republic of Kenya and in the Supreme Court, and as somebody who has taken part in negotiations for transformation from one constitutional order to another, at a personal level, now I'm talking at there are those you can negotiate with, but there are some people who ab initio you should not even attempt to negotiate with them. You should not even attempt to negotiate with them. I think we should just go back to the drawing board. Because if President Ruto could not work with Uhuru Kenyatta, if he could not work with Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay, here's the last one that I want to play. Then I'll put the link for anyone who wants to come in. Remember, this is they were making noise after the judge had already ruled on the IBC, the constitution of the IBC. The judge said that the NADCO report was not anchored in law. Remember that? I don't know if you guys remember this. Hold on. Let me show you. Then I'll put the link in a few minutes. Hold on. Listen up. I want to show you guys what's been going on, where we've come from, because it seems everyone keeps on forgetting where we are. Here it is.
Yet recruitment of new IBC commissioners has the High Court decision to host the constitutional vacuum that the talks between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza created in the name of a political truce. In her decision, High Court Judge Mugure Thande said political expediency should not override the Constitution. Constitutional lawyers say the country faces a constitutional crisis at a time when IEBC should have been concluding the review of constituency.
Following the constitution of the bipartisan talks, where both Azimio and best
constitutional vacuum that the talks between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza created in the name of a political truce. In her decision, High Court Judge Mugure Thande said political expediency should not override the constitution. Constitutional lawyers say the country faces a constitutional crisis at a time when IEBC should have been concluding the review of constituency boundaries, whose 12-year window lapses next month. Stephen Leto reports.
High Court Judge Mugure Thande directed that the current IEBC selection panel moves with speed and immediately recruits new IEBC commissioners, including their chair. The process was put on hold following the constitution of the bipartisan talks, where both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza fronted talks teams seeking to find, among others, the best formula to replace ousted and retired IEBC commissioners. But the High Court judge said, quote, "I reject the notion that the political question doctrine should override the very explicit constitutional provisions and that the prevailing circumstances should be allowed to infringe on the rights enshrined in the Constitution." Justice Thande further said in her ruling that the intervention of this court is therefore justified, more so because the bipartisan talks are, to the best of our knowledge, not anchored in either the Constitution or the law. The High Court's decision brought about by a case filed by Aden Mohammed, who claimed that failure to recruit IEBC commissioners in time had violated the rights of constituents who were to hold by-elections, for instance, Banisa constituency. The MP died in March last year.
Already a constitutional crisis. IEBC, as one of the independent institutions, has an ongoing mandate to mediate political processes. One of them is to conduct by-elections. Another one is to review boundaries. And these are ongoing processes. They're not linked to a general election. It was a mistake, actually, to disband IEBC without a plan for reconstituting a new one.
Political pundits argue that it was a bad idea to allow disbandment of the IEBC without a laid down framework to have new commissioners.
Remember, there is a constituency that doesn't have an MP at the moment. I think it's called Banisa, somewhere in Mandera also. And the people of Banisa have a right to be represented in parliament continuously. They have not been represented for well over a year now. Nobody in this country has mandate to disinherit me from or to deny me the right to representation.
IEBC is required to have started the process.
The delimitation of boundaries, which is required under law to be done at least 10 years, but not later than 12 years. Now, 10 years came in the year 2022, but the law allowed us up to 12 years, which now expires in March of 2024. So in terms of the crisis that would then ensue, is that there would be a lacuna in law where delimitation has not been done, and there are constituencies which may cease to exist.
Some constituencies had been ring-fenced for the period and were to cease existing after the boundaries review. On the 23rd of June, IEBC, in its boundaries review plan, increased the population quota to 164,015. Having divided the population at the time 47.5 million with a stipulated 290 constituencies.
The constituencies were saved under the law were about 30 constituencies, including Odaya is one of them, I think Daragwa is one of them, and a number of other constituencies. It means then that we cannot plan for that. The government cannot allocate money, appropriate resource and other planning things in terms of infrastructure, roads and other things. That is the immediate constitutional crisis that I foresee.
The National Dialogue Committee report had laid down a framework on the recruitment of the IEBC team, but the document is still gathering dust in Parliament. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Melchizedek.
Haya. Ndio hiyo sasa.
Haya, IEBC namna gani? Sisi tunaambiwa IEBC, tunaambiwa Kalonzo ameisimamia, Kalonzo hajakubali mtu wake hajaekwa. Lakini tukiangalia this whole IEBC thing is just ridiculous. Anyway, Maoni yako?
Mimi nilikuambia hapa, kuna siku niliwaambia IBC tayari ilishachaguliwa, bado mnangoja. Ilishachaguliwa kitambo. Ruto anajua wenye wanafanya hiyo kazi. Unajua asijui kama mimi ndio naonanga hizi vitu zenye zinafanyika Kenya peke yangu ama watu wa village ndio wananifuata. Last time I told you here Adani, watu wakasema hii sahii ilikuwa ni hot sauce ama hot soup. Ndio hiyo wakasemekana sasa alitoa, kumbe wanakula behind the curtain. Haya, maneno ya IBC, kusema tu ukweli, tuseme tu, tusidanganyane. IBC ingefaa ichaguliwe kitambo sana.
Yeah.
The question is, what is happening until now? Hiyo ndio kitu watu wanafaa. But remember, by the time Kindiki alikuwa anasua in, wakina nani wangefaa wasimame na waseme huyu ametosha ama hajatosha? Ni IBC. Si ako vice president. Hao watu walitoka wapi? Wenye walimfanya wakakuwa vice president. Hiyo ni swali. Sahi huyo Watermelon amesimama akisema ya kwamba Rigiji ni mbaya, ni mzuri. By that time alikuwa anasema Rigiji ni mbaya. Sahi anakasirika juu watu wake hawako hapo. Nani anatuchezea akili? The same people. So sometimes watu wanaweza sema hapa mimi ni muenda ama naongeanga tu vitu zangu, lakini I know what is happening. Kenya is Kenya. Unajua ukishatoka nje ya Kenya, akili yako huwa inapanua. Kama inakuanga na ile you think beyond Kenya mind. Because we have seen what is happening where we are working and how this government is coordinating and wanafanya vitu zao. If you compare to what happening to your country, there is a big difference. And that's why sometimes I used to say, someone can judge me the way I'm talking like a madman, but I know what I'm saying. From the beginning, I've been telling you this, but if you come in reality, zinafanyika. I told you very well that Marara hataenda mahali. Sahi ako wapi? Sahi analea kwa TV. I told you this before it's happened. Ukasema Marara ni Simba. Simba yenye imenyeshewa. Sahi mkia ikukua matako ndani.
Wewe Kenya Lido unasema wewe ni Marara ni Simba hata wewe.
Ndio sikusema, huyu ananiwekelea maneno lakini namsikia tu.
Wewe nyamaza KK, nyamaza kwanza. Order. Sasa maneno yenye iko sahihi, kama masomi na sauri yako, ukisoma accountant unachoma mahindi pale nini kujenga. Kama wewe ni engineer, enda utengeneze kwa nini ya baiskeli. Hiyo ni maisha ya Kenya. But if we are not careful, I used to tell these people every now and then, let us be careful with each and everything that we are doing. Each and everything that we are saying. How can you take someone who got D-? I'm still repeating this thing again. How can you take someone who doesn't even know what economy is because akona pesa unampea CS? How can you take someone like Opiyo Wandayi ati sasa ni what's this minister of energy na ajui electricity inacheza aje? Naona you know, there's some things like sasa Murkomen sasa ndio mtu on spot. By the way, mtu mguu yake inakaa kama nini ya nyanyangu.
Ati naitwa nani Murkomen?
Sijui anaitwaga nani kiji. So such kind of things, we are seeing them, but we don't talk about them. When we talk about them, unakuwa abducted, unakuwa unapigwa, unafanyiwa wanyama kwa sababu unataka kusema ukweli. Unajua Kenya Rebel, kama hujakuwa rebellion, kama hujakuwa vizuri, hii channel yako itafungwa kwa sababu una criticize the government. We will not allow that to happen to our channel because we are here. We are here to correct them. Unaweza soma mpaka upite, but if you don't have what is called the wisdom, you are nothing. My friend, you are nothing in front of people. Umesikia vile kisungu inarushwa hapo? Kwa nini lawyers wanarusha kisungu? Hizo kisungu kwa nini wazitumie kusaidia Wakenya?
Kweli. Wengine wanajaribu lakini
hawawezi. Peana KK pia aongee vibaya, nataka kusikia. Ndugu wangu kuja.
Aya KK, uwanja ni wako. Nyinyi lakini, nyi wawili. KK uko sawa? KK sijui amefinywa na Faruk huko ama ni namna gani? KK unmute.
Amegusa chupa. Babu, simamaisha. Sasa niendelee kama hajarudi.
Aya, endelea basi kabla anajitayarisha huko.
There is a very big game that these people are playing behind everything that is taking place in Kenya.
Yusuf atatuambia hivyo.
Kuna kitu hapa anaitwa huyu mzee wa AU. Sijui alikuwa anaitwa baba, sijui baba wa kina nani?
Raila.
Unajua mimi sijui hata jina. Kuna huyu jamaa anaitwa Kalonzo. Kuna huyu mama anaitwa Iron lady.
Karua.
Iron lady my foot. Then kuna huyu anaitwa sijui Kioni huyu. Sijui jani huyu jamaa alitoa wapi? Huyu mtu wa bangi.
Modo. Oh, nimerudi.
Sawa.
Unajua, I think one of the saddest thing, unajua ni venye, and I think I get hii jina yake ni ngumu siwezi kaisema, sitajaribu, but I get with what he's saying. Hizi vitu watu wamekuwa kiona for a long time. Tumekuja hapa tuna complain, tumeenda kwa ile channel nyingine, tunasema nyinyi mnaongea story ya election ya 27, election ni gani mnaiona? Sisi wote tumekuwa tukiona hakuna election inakuja. So ile kitu huyu jamaa anajaribu kupostpone, eventually tumekuwa tukiona. That's why sisi tumesema let's take care of this sick animal first of all. Juu unajua hata nini, hata ukienda nini Masai Mara, kama kuko na nini na mnyama iko na rabies, unataka iue nini wanyama wote nini Masai Mara, alafu nini tuanze kutafuta nini animals from west? You know what we do? Hizi vitu tunajua si wote, hakuna kitu complicated.
Ruto ako na rabies.
Hata wewe najua kwenye umetoka, lakini kwenye watu unaekanga makuku, ukikuwa na kuku kaa 50 na moja imeanza kulalala. So unajua hiyo kulalala ni sickness. Ukiendelea kuiweka hapo inafanya nini? Vitu zingine ni common sense. Mbona hizi vitu don't apply to, you know, logical things.
Hizi knowledge zero ziko random.
No, ni ukweli though. Ukikuwa uliza anywhere online, mtu anaekanga kuku. Ukikuwa na kuku dawa moja,
ni ukweli.
Uko na kuku moja imeanza kulalala na umeamka saa hii. Kwani wewe ulikuwa club? Unajua what to do. Otherwise, hizo zote zitakufa.
Yeah.
Oh, tunajua. You know what we're talking about here.
So hii mambo ya TSG Kalonzo ndiye amesimamisha hii mambo ya ninio, ni ukweli? Kwa sababu si Kalonzo alikuwa jana alilimwona ameshikana na pasta anasema ati IBC irekebishwe mara moja.
No, shida ni, nimesemanga hivi mara moja, watu wote walishikana. These people, they are working on the same side. Mmoja anajifanya ndio, hata kama yeye ni mbaya, wanajua the worst that could happen in the other side. What a trade back. So tuna deal na watu wako table moja, tunaona wako ile table na sisi hatuko kwa hiyo table. Tukiacha mmoja kwa hiyo table, what does that tell you? They are all in the same table.
Tunachezwa tu, tunazungushwa.
Sijui ni nini, mbona hatuoni man?
Mimi sijui itakuwa ni njia gani, but vile naona watu wamechoka, yani people of all ninio. Tumesema hapa mara mingi, mapasta wamechoka, wananchi wamechoka, wa madaktari wamechoka, walimu wamechoka. How is this going? Ata survive namna gani? Mi sioni, hata kama this time hata Raila haizi kumsaidia. Kwa sababu hata huyo Raila watu wamechoka na yeye. Imi sioni, sijui vile, hata kama watu wanasema sijui
Nikupatie story nyingine hapa. Unakumbuka ukiongea story ya sijui EU, I was watching comment. But Raila ameshaona. You know, he's a calculating, cunning person. Ameshaona he is losing it. That's why he's coming back. Unaona the first thing alipata ni nani? Kasmo. Sijui kama una video leo ni Kasmo about him.
Ya leo?
The same Kasmo is kwa
Raila.
Kwa Raila, yes, today. The same, they're trying to, unaona venye Kasmo amenyamaza. Anajifanya sijui chama ndio nafanya hivi. So his goal is, his purpose is, wakati nini, wanaona Ruto he can't, right? So Raila na Kasmo, anajifanya Kasmo na represent youth, Raila na represent the knowledge, right? Of the system.
Yeah.
Same game. But
yeah.
What tunacheza? Tumewaonea kutoka mbali. Si wote si wajinga.
Vile tu nilisema Raila alifanya hivyo 2002. Alikuwa nafikiria Moi atamweka as the presidential candidate wa KANU because he thought he was quite famous, so whatever the case is. Moi akamruka akachuzo Uhuru. Sasa Raila kakasirika, akaona ajoin Kibaki kwa sababu Kibaki na I think it was Rainbow Coalition at that time or whatever the case is. They were the most, walikuwa na momentum, the people were with the Rainbow Coalition. Sasa yeye vile kuruku hapa, akaona dalili, mazee KANU inaenda kudidimia hapa, akaruka kaingia, kajifanya yeye sana ninio. For his political survival. And I think the same thing is about to happen in 2027. Tukifika huko kabla hujamaja tuogelewa. I don't believe itafika huko. Anapima saizi amejishika na nani kwa sababu wamempatia do na wamempatia EU, wanampromise AU. Akishindwa, he'll do the same thing. Yeah.
I don't think we see it from the same view. And let me explain. I think what we're going through right now ni ile kitu tumekuwa tukicomplain hapa. Sijui tunajaribu kulikoloni MP from Mathera wanasema hakuna IBC. Somehow, the vice president or the deputy president, Nani, Kindiki. But somehow, if the law was followed, Kindiki should not be the president because hakuna IBC, right? VP, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
the whole thing, we are using logic, which is fair, but we don't live in one logical system. So tunatumia constitution, the person we're dealing with, the first thing aliingia ni kuirarua. So this is where mpaka saa hii tunaanza kudiscover sijui kuna mtu sijui Nyakundi, kuna Nyakundi Twitter. There's a kuna mtu explain, I think he's a lawyer, and I explain how IBC iko where it is on purpose. Kuna laws, I think 2 years, 8 months before, it should be already in functional. Haiko functional. So anything that happens after, it's your constitution, but who is following that anyway? So we as the Kenyans, we are thinking we're using a constitution while the person we're trying to hold account is not doing it. So that's where some of us are like, anything that of these kind of conversations kind of anything that we can build through our Ujama. And by the way, it's very shameful that the military people wanaona we are losing also, country. Na kuna kitu wanafanya, even saying something, or not even planning, because I doubt they're doing anything, because they're still waiting for us to do something, and everybody has to do their part.
Inasemekana wakubwa wa military ameweka watu wake, his most trusted military top guns, to make sure wako on his side. So, and historically, I mean, besides 1982, which ndio maana unaona siku hizi every president ambao akiingia, they always make sure that their countrymen, their most trusted tribes men kwanga around them. For example, since 1982, kwa sababu Air Force was, kulikuwa na wajaluo wengi, vile nani alisurvive hiyo coup d'etat, akaeka watu wake just to make sure that is in and even following that, every president amesha kuja, vile Uhuru alikuwa hapo, alieka watu wake. Ruto ameingia, ameka watu wake just to make sure tusikuwe na coup d'etat ingine. So I mean, it makes sense, ndio maana it's really hard, but that's not, I mean, still inaweza kuhappen, we just don't know. I mean, the thing
and
is,
this is why, as we talk about these things, I want us to consider one thing. Because I know we have to finish this thing, we have to end it as we end. But I think when ikishaisha, even our homes, wenye watu kila mtu ametoka, karawa huko, they have to be people from that people. Because uwezi ukakuja unaibia watu wa kwetu or anywhere, and people can hold you accountable. Kama unaibia watu wa kwenyu, let people know you're a thief. Your family know you're a thief. Hiyo ndio shida. Unakuja unapata mtu, for example, Kikuyu au Kiambu, mtu atasiwa huko, mtu no Garissa, hakuna mtu unajua huyu mtoka wapi. So mtu atamnyanyasa huko na kuna connections all over. But kaa huyu mtu unajua mamake ni nani, babake ni nani, watoto wake ni nani, atakuja kila wakati anaiba kila mtu. That's kind of the governments we need, especially from the police part of it.
Sijui maneno tutaitatua aje, but like me usema, the biggest challenge for us wa Kenya is to get everybody on one page, pissed off enough kutoa umse through popular revolution. I mean, the IBC thing is important because at least tungejaribu kutoa ninio ama MPs ambao wako na kiburi, but ndio hiyo IBC hata pia wakafanya hiyo, wanaweza delay. In fact, the whole IBC Amendment Act ambao walipitisha, it's unconstitutional, and that's what they are using to choose this. And Melchi.
Another thing I'm seeing, each and every person that are working in the government or the opposition, they are together. Wako rende moja, So they are just, it's just a blame game, but at the back of their mind, they know that they are together, so they are coming to lie or to cheat wananchi kwamba sisi hatutaki hii, but ikifika wakati wa kukula, wanakula meza moja, pesa wanakula pamoja. Now this thing is the thing that is giving us headache, because you find hata wale ambao tunasema they are trustworthy, they are not, because kama ilikuwa ni opposition ndio inafaa akosoe government, sincerely speaking, right now we could have been very, very far away. But this opposition, which they are supposed to go and tell the government this is the wrong thing that they are doing, they are going and also join them. And now they are telling people that we make what is called broad what? Based. And this thing started long time ago. It's not today. Ilianza ile wakati wa na unajua hii kitu imewekwa kama chain. Huyu akitoka anakuwa ICS, the next day anakuwa nini, hivyo hivyo. So unapata ya kwamba hakuna chain yenye unaweza break hapa, wametengeneza kutoka juu ikikuja chini. Mpaka unaona Babu Owino anaweza piga nduru, apiga aseme nini, but ikifika parliament wanaongenga tu, but they cannot do anything, because what you are seeing even in the parliament tells very well that these people, they are together, but wanadanganya watu na maneno, lakini matendo wako. Unaona?
Yeah.
So for us to make things work, we need to dissolve each and every of them, so that we remove that. Kuna kitu inaitwanga ugolo in Kijaluo quotes. I hope you understand what is the meaning of it. Ile nini yenye inamea kwa shamba. Ukipanda mahindi, saa zingine inatoka kwa mahindi tu hivi. Hiyo kitu kama hujatoa hiyo mahindi yenye iko imegrow, hiyo shamba imeharibika yote. And this is what is happening in Kenya. When they start this issue of political, those who start the political warfare, they are the people that knew that we want to eat from this, and we will not leave this until we finish what we started. So wanafunza wale wenye wako ready, kama wakina Marara, wakina Kasmuel, au wenye yani wanaona tu huyu ni mjinga, anaweza enda na mimi, wacha tumfuate, wacha tumsaidie. Unaona? Then anaingia kwa hii kitu inaitwa corruption. Lakini kama wewe umekataa, umesema okay, mimi sitaki kukaa hapo, wewe utakulewa ama utaambiwa usiongee, ukiongea utakufinya. Unaona? So wewe unaenda unakaa kwa umbali, lakini unaona wakina huyu jamaa mwingine alikuwa na aitwa Gaucho.
Yeah.
Siku hizo unasikianga Gaucho? Hakuna. Kwa sababu walishaona kwamba hawa ni wale wajinga yenye wanataka ile pesa. Ukishapeana wame mute. Hakuna kitu wanasema. Lakini wako na watu ambayo wakisema leo tunaenda kuvamia, wako nayo juu the ground ambayo wako walitokea. Unaona? So these people, they are looking it very, very closely, kwamba who can do this and how many people this guy have. Okay, let's bring this guy near us, then tumemaliza kitu yenye ilikuwa inaendelea. And that's what these people are doing. You ona vile Babu Owino alikuwa mzuri zaidi from the beginning, but at the end of the day tulipata ya kwamba yeye pia ameingia kwa rende ambayo ni ufisadi na kile kitu. But at the back of their mind, they are wanaongea zile kisungu zenye sijui zimetoka wapi. But they are doing nothing.
Niongeze hapo.
Ongeza.
I think ile kitu hawa maybe unajua shida ya ukaishi somewhat too far. Sijui kama unasikia. Ukaishi somewhat too far. Out of touch. Watu wana represent the people in the villages. Sijui kama umeona kuna sijui MP wa Limuru or something alichapwa kukenio kama mtoto. Yes. Hawajui, na sasa ile kitu hawajui, kila mtu kwenye ako kama watu wetu tunalala njaa na wewe ndio ulienda kutuuza. Tunajua kwenye wazazi wako wanaishi, watoto wako wanasoma, bibi yako wako, hakuna kwenye watu watajificha. Unajua, one of the things, the tribalist thing showed us consequences. You cannot be an MP when you're living in South Africa. In this country, you'll never be. You can never be the president when you cannot even land in this country. Can you? You cannot be the president of this country while your family is living in fear. Can you? Eventually, that's where we have to go. Mozambique is doing it daily.
Yeah. Ndio maana niko nasema there's a new wave of especially these young Africans who are not wanaangalia the world different. Ndio maana nasema even Ruto might not survive this kwa sababu people are not taking this for granted. Si kama sisemi ati watu wa kitambo walikuwa hawezi kupigania Kenya, but
hata sio hivyo.
Time imechange. Yes.
Kenya. Bro, one second, you have to come in, please. 1 second. Unataka kuniambia kuna any money unaweza nipatia enough now unipatie niishi somewhere, alafu watu wetu wote wakuwe slaves? Watu wako all over, even within our own countries. So hizi vitu tutamaliza, whatever they need to go, they will go. Wacha mchezo hii sio ya kudhurana watu. Unadhurana mtu hujui. Sisi tunakujua kila mtu, unajua wazazi wako, tunajua watoto wako, tunajua kwenye unaishi, unajua apartment zako, tutachoma zote. Watu wazini vitu, or they think they're good. You cannot even have the cops protecting you. Common sense should tell you that. But surprisingly, don't have it.
By the way, hata speaking of cops, unajua sijui kuna polisi wa 10 wame resign from Haiti kwa sababu ya delay payment. Walipwa 20. Yeah. Okay. Not 10, 20 ndio hiyo. Nani ulikuwa modal ulikuwa kusema kitu? Melchi.
There is a day niliwaambia hapa, I was one of the campaigners for this guy, this woman called Wanga. And it reached a point where wakati yenye tulikuwa tunaenda kupiga kura, wacha niwaambie, these people, they are very smart in stealing people's mind. Hao unajua wale wanyanya wa ushago, wale wajui wako na njaa, then wale wa vijana wale ambao hawana kazi na hawana pesa. Ilibidi hata mimi nitoke kwa sababu kama ningekuwa, wacha tuseme that time sikuwa najua what life is, because ilikuwa ni ile kitu yenye tulikuwa tunatumwa. But in the real sense, tulikuwa tumeambiwa in the next 24 hours, kama tujapata 150,000 vote, kila mtu na familia yake wataenda. Na it happened.
Wataenda wapi?
Si watauliwa, kwani ni kesho.
Wanga alikuwa anawaambia hivyo.
Bana, nilikuwa na public addressing system ambao mimi ndio nilikuwa natembea kila mahali. Ilibidi niseme, ninyenyekee, niseme baba, bado nimependa mama yangu. Unaona? Ilifika saa mbili. Mimi nasema kitu yenye ilifanyika, ilifika saa 2 asubuhi na Wanga akona over 100,000 voted. Penye zilikuwa hatukuwa tumejua nimetoka wapi. So it's something that if mtu ameniambia nikuwe na testimony, I can do that because I was there.
Vile alikuwa nakimbilia anasimamia ninio governor.
Yes, hii governor saa hii yenye hako saa hii sio kitu kingine. Na aliambia Kidero, mimi na kushinda, upende usipende, mwaga pesa vile unataka, but I have to win.
Ala. Kidero ndio pia alipewa kazi.
Yes. And after Kidero aende sijui nini, alisema hata aende wapi. After kukua campaign tumefanya kile kitu. Sisi tulifanyiwa nini? Bado ninaosha nini hapa? Kiatu ya wanyonge hapa. Juu sikuwa.
Hebu nikuulize, with that in mind, nasikia ni lini? Hiyo sio hata saa hii, hiyo ni kitambo. Jiulize saa hii ni nini inafanywa, uniambie ni nini ingine mebaki tufanye. Kila mtu unajua nini inafanyika, kila mtu unajua.
So the moment, wacha nimalize, the moment Ruto amesimama amesema ya kwamba kesho nitakuwa president, kila mahali ashamwaga pesa. That's the real thing. Unajua kama hujakuwa kwa hii kampeni unaweza sema hizi vitu ni watu watasema tu. I was there. Na tulikuwa tunakaa kwa hizo meetings, tunaambiwa ya kwamba kesho tunaenda kuvamia hii place, tunataka kura hivi. Tunaenda asubuhi saa 11 umeamka, tunaenda kufanya. Pesa umepewa, ukitaka kisu pia iko. Ukikataa hiyo kisu imeenda. Saa zingine umeenda kwa kampeni, ukirudi saa zingine hivyo ndio umeenda kama maiti. So we have to be realistic right now. I'm talking like this because I feel that pain when I'm seeing these things is happening.
Wow.
My brother was in Kidero. I was in Wanga. Brother yangu akaambiwa, bwana, kama wewe unataka kukua the assistant of anaitwa nani? Kidero. We mwaga pesa, wewe uko na pesa mingi, mwaga tu hapa tukule au ngoje 2027. Alikulwa vizuri mpaka nikamwambia baba, rudi kazi.
Ati baba unamuita baba?
Yeah, he's my brother. Why am I lying to you? He's my brother. It's something that it happened. So this issue is siasa ni chafu. Hii siasa ni chafu na tusipokuwa jihadhari, I'm telling you today, Ruto already have their member of the IBC. Because what I know on the ground ni tofauti na kitu yenye saa zingine watu wanasema. Wakina Marara wanapiganga tu kelele kwa sababu wao wamesoma, sasa wako na kitu kadogo ka degree, then wameshikana na huyo Ruto wenyewe. Huyo mwenye anasema kwamba amtaki, ameshikana nayo kwa sababu ndio maana kama angeshikana na huyo Ruto, huyu jamaa angeolewa kitambo sana. Nakwambia. Kuna jamaa alikuwa amejifanya ni mjeuri huko kwetu, alifinywa usiku, kesho yeye alirudi kama mguu yake moja iko, kwa sababu alikuwa na kichwa ngumu. Mpaka leo ajisema mimi tangu nifanywe hivi sitawahi rudi. Kwa nini? Ndio ingefanywa nani? Anaitwa nani? Huyo Marara. Hao watu wako kwa hiyo serikali, hii serikali ya Ruto. wako ndani wanapewa kitu then wanasema wacha tuende tu expose. Kwani unaweza dhani kama alikuwa ako sahi ako 29
Yeah, 28 29 hapo
29 ako na pesa, si alisema ako na 70 almost 70 employees, sijui 85 employees kwa farm yake.
Oh, hata mimi nishika hiyo. Hata mimi nishika hiyo. Endelea.
Alipata hizo pesa wapi? Mimi pia nilikuwa nafanya yenye niko na mimi nimemshinda na one year. Mimi pia ningekuwa nini mdosi kaya. Wacha tukuchezea akili bwana.
Zile nasema ati alikuwa nauza ninio sofa ile ni sofa maviti or whatever furniture. Zilikuwa na hiyo biashara.
Mrara
so, hiyo kuna kitu kama hiyo you need to be a multi-millionaire to run it.
Yes, it's fine.
You need to be a multi-millionaire to run anything.
Remember huyo jamaa alikuwa kwa camp nini chief kwa ile organizer wa Ruto. Remember he said
yes.
Pesa zenye alikuwa amekuwa nayo bilionea ilitoka hapo. Hatuwezi danganywa.
Okay, yeah, alikuwa kwa kampeni ya Ruto.
Mimi nilipewa pesa, sikufika nayo nyumbani. Nakwambia leo sikufika nayo.
Kwa nini?
Unasema nini? Ilipotea kwa gari. Mpaka leo sijui penye hiyo pesa iko kwa bahasha. Hata mimi ningekuwa nimeona.
Ilipotea namna gani? Ulienda kuikula ama
Nilikula wapi? Na kuna mtu alitumwa akatashapewa pesa. Ikifika kwa shimo, kile kitu ilienda ni ati gari imeharibika. Kile gari imeharibika wapi? Pesa ndio ilikuwa inakula. Nini hamjui maneno ya siasa bwana. Watu wengine wanakuja wanapiganga tu mdomo hapa ati Kenya. Sisi tuliteswa bwana. Tulilala mpaka chini ya nini tukingoja Wanga apite kwanza.
Chini ya wapi?
Chini ya Nyamkenye. Naitwa Nyamkenye.
Nyamkenye ni nini? Asicheki ati ni pani lakini ni interesting.
Yeah, of course. I'm telling you. We did all this. There is a guy that we... Ni mtu inaitwa Nyamkenye. Ni mtu.
Mondo.
Okay.
Mondo.
Yeah.
And I think mimi sijaikuwa into those places, but I know how those things work. But this is what I don't understand. Unajua hizi pesa za politics, they are dirty. Ukishaingia ni kama uchawi. This is why you see people, like somebody who was a normal sane person, akishakula pesa kaa hiyo, ni kani ya uchawi. And those things mess up the whole line, right? You follow the line. Ukishakula hivyo inaharibu the whole line.
Yeah.
Kabisa. Who are very cultural. If those when wanajali about the culture and stuff. Ukiguza pesa kaa hiyo inaharibu your whole line. You never explain what is happening in your family. It just causes a blood money. And we still live in our own country as ancestors. Hiyo damu yenye mwaga runs our country at the end of the day. I will never see it coming though.
I'm telling you, when Kidero was going to his inaitwaje imputation kwa nini kuleta zile vitu zake za sijui Wanga aliiba. Do you know how many people he deployed on our area? Those who will say no. Over 200. Na walikuwa na gari na bunduki. Ukisema ngui, wewe kwisha. These things happen, but no one could talk. Because if you said it, you and your family is gone. But all these things happening, people are quiet because you are defending or you are keeping your family not to be hurt.
Na nikuulize Modo, nikuulize.
That time, I could have not come in platform and say that. If I say that tomorrow, now I can say it because I'm in Golgotha. Who will come and touch me in Golgotha? Nothing.
So Mondo, nikuulize hata
Yeah.
wewe. See, that's why nasema Negus, you are 100% true. Hata kama kwenye kila mtu ametoka hapa, rudi nyumbani, ongea na watu wenyu. Anyone you know, uliza anybody that you know around there. Anyone umeshaisikia sijui ameua watu, those things hurt the whole family lineage. It's a fact from all the cultures, all our cultures. Anyway, so I wanted to say, what else did I want to say? Jesus, I forget.
Nilikuwa nataka kusema hivi, wewe ulisahau kitu captain alituambia. Tukifika tu kwa airport hivi, hai, zimeshachukuliwa.
Wacha
endelea. Mama niseme. Nimekumbuka saa hii, pole.
Wacha nikuambie kitu ingine. If you go to that village right now as we speak, where I'm coming, this is a Luo man or a Luo lady or a Luo woman. If you want to tell him about someone that give him something to eat, then you are not giving him something to eat, he will be a big enemy. So you have to be very careful when you are doing this, because your neighbor will trap and tell, okay, I know Wanga. Okay, I have the Wanga's number. This is the guy they're talking about, Wanga. Tomorrow, very early in the morning, you will not find yourself. Even if you dead, you will find your body dead when you wake up in the morning.
Okay, so hata kama ukisema hivyo, nikuulize Mondo, niko kwenye shule yenye niko ni different na yako. Nakwambia kutoka kwenye nasikia, unaona ma-MP wa Central wengi wametoa, hawajaenda nyumbani, wamechukua mama zao, hawaendi nyumbani. Cause kila mtu at this time umeshaona tunaenda kurudishwa ni slavery. So hakuna penye utaishi huku. That's why unaona. I think kuna policy jana lipitishwa sijui the military and zitakuwa nini around. Again, you know what that means? Martial law is coming. Jana kulikuwa
Central, Limuru.
No. Alisema the military and the police will be working together. Kuna umeweza nini kumix both of them. Jana.
What area?
military and surveillance.
No. Yeah. Nasema what area?
No, walisema nini zote. They're working together from like the same central point. I think.
No, nasema what area? Yani wapi? Location, yeah.
No, walisema nini? Kenya yote.
Okay.
2 tiers.
Yeah, okay.
2 tiers. So that should tell you. So tunaona nini happen.
Yeah, kwa sababu niliona kitu kaa hiyo mapolisi ambao walikuwa wanataka kuchukua off ya December ndio wakaitwa hivyo tena. I think I saw that.
Wakaambiwa hakuna vacation.
Yeah, kwa sababu security concern. Security concern kulikuwa hapo hivyo. Kuna ka clip hivi niko nilisahau kuchezea kabla tujaleta Njiru hapa, naona ametujoin hapo kwa renew. Let me play this clip ya rafiki yetu
mwanaume mwingine hapo.
Sikia rafiki yako hapa alikuwa na president 2027. Ndio huyu.
No, I'm running for president. I cannot be arguing with a member of county assembly.
You can't even run for county assembly.
How can I be arguing with a member of county assembly, a presidential candidate?
You see,
this is embarrassing.
Yes,
no, a presidential candidate should not have the time. Argue with a former member of county assembly.
Such of issues. It's the broad-based government. For a job in government. That is,
which take me. No,
let me address.
Don't take me. Let me address that. You took Caswell, now it's flying in a helicopter.
You are going to after
take me.
I am not interested in helicopter. No, the broad-based government. One about the broad-based winning and losing.
You know, I'm running for president. I cannot be arguing with a member of county assembly.
You can't.
Huyo ndio president.
Karibu Njiru. Huyo ndio run president 2027, mumpigie, amesema mumpigie na mtumie pesa. Njiru, karibu. Najua ulifanya kazi nzuri sana, niligundua channel yako. So I'll be often there. Hata nimesubscribe. Karibu Njiru.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Wewe na utuambie jina nini ya channel, hata mimi na nini?
Yeah. The channel inaitwa @Njiro Mwaura Talkroom, in simple, ukienda tu kwa YouTube alafu tu weke tu jina yangu Njiro Mwaura,
siweka link, drop link or link or private link, drop link. So
nita drop link yangu hapo as we speak. So hiyo haina shida. I will drop my link. Nataka kusema kitu hapa sababu brothers, unajua there is something which is not working in our country at the moment. Natafuta hiyo channel yangu kidogo, maybe just if you give me like a minute. Okay. Ndio hii nimeipata tu kidogo. Nataka kukurushia tu saa hii tu. Sorry for that. Okay. Niko nayo sasa. So umeniambia niweke hapo kwa private, channel ndio hiyo. Good. Away from that, let me be clear. Hashtag ni Ruto must go. We have to cleanse our nation. Nchi yetu iko sawa. Kuna vitu mingi sana azifanyi vizuri. Na kuna kitu nimesema. Mtu yote ambaye anataka kukua rais Kenya, Bwana Melchizedek and Mr. K, any person ambaye anataka kukua rais Kenya, hatutaki watu tu wa press conferences peke yake. Tunataka mtu ambaye anaenda kwa grassroots na anaungana na sisi katika mashida yetu sahi. Why? There's no need ya watu ambie mimi nataka kukua rais na hakuna hajatusaidia on anything. Like qualification ya kukua rais, lazima kwanza urudi kwa grassroots, uanzie kumenyana na Ruto. Kuna vitu iende sawa. Tuko na impunitive taxes zinaletwa. Hawa watu wapambani na hizi vitu. Hatuwaoni wakienda kwa makoti ama wakifanya anything serious. People are being taxed impunitively. Like kama sasa wafanyikazi, you know the amount of money they are getting. From a deduction of 100%, unakuta mtu mshahara yake unatepeleka home like 40 or 35%. From there, we have illegal things coming in Kenya. Illegal things like kama sasa there is that illegal vaccination which will be coming. Mangombe zetu zinaenda kudungwa dawa. Watoto wetu wataanzia kukua subjected to drugs which we don't know what they are. Kuna story kama hii ya airport ilikuwa inaenda. Lakini Mungu akatuponesha through jamaa after to commit crime in another country. Hiyo crime itatusaidia kwetu.
Njiro, can I ask something right quick?
Okay, go ahead.
Dakika moja please. Unasema ng'ombe zinaanza kudungwa. As you speak, there's, I think, on 3 farms. They are already in the census project. As we speak, there's more than 100,000 kids wakona hizi vaccines. Don't forget that. So hatusemi kitu ta happen, imesha happen na inaendelea.
By the way, tutumie the word kudungwa. Njiru as a YouTuber, ukitumia hiyo ya kizungu, hiyo kitu ya kudungwa, watakuflag. Ushasikia hiyo? Yeah. So wasema tu kudungwa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So story ndio hiyo sasa. I am not happy ama mimi sijafurahia, and I'm sorry to say I'm not a believer of Bwana Murara. Maybe I have my own reasons why I don't believe in him. Why? Because Murara is an incarnation of Gen Z. For your information, even when Gen Zs were doing zile vitu walikuwa wanafanya, Murara was not in the forefront. I think Murara ni wale watu ambao they educate chini na akastande. How do I benefit from this movement? And Murara has only been ni sawa hiyo kufrag. The only two things Murara has done in Kenya, Murara amefanya vitu mbili. Amefrag project za Ruto, which we know by the way. So like he was the end result. Alikuwa end result wa hiyo fragment. So kuna hiyo story ya kutuonesha zile project azifanyi na
he was the face. He was the face of it. He was the face of it.
He was what? Sorry?
The face of like the fake project. And you didn't the face of the fake project. That's what.
Yeah, he is the face of fake project. But frankly speaking, he just brought them into the media. But we are sure that Bwana Ruto hakuna kitu ana launch inaisha. That is something we know. Because up to date, hakuna project Ruto amewahi launch imeisha Kenya mzima. Na I want to challenge somebody. Kama umewahi ona Ruto ameenda pahali ku launch project na hiyo project imeisha, unionyeshe. Hata zile project anaenda ku launch zile zimeisha, sio yeye ali launch ianzishwe. But project yote ambayo Ruto ameweka jiwe ianziwe, hijawahi isha. So I want somebody to challenge me if there is a single project ile ambayo yeye mwenyewe ameanzisha na ameenda kwa inauguration ama kwa handover, tunaitanga handover ceremony. There is none. So in terms of that, we know Ruto is an underperformer because he has not delivered on anything and he has been in the government for 30 years. Si ati amekuwa kwa government leo. Even sasa nimeanzia kusema I have even started telling myself I want to cascade story ya Ruto. Nataka kuicascade to when he used to be an MP of Eldoret North. Nataka watu Eldoret North waanzie kunionyesha ile project alikuwa anafanya. Sijui kama wakati wake kulikuwa na pesa ya CDF. Maybe ilikuwa because 27 he was a member. I want to see project za Ruto za CDF zinakaa namna gani. So if you people mnajua watu wa Eldoret North huko akina Tarbo wapi, I don't know where Eldoret North imefika, tafadhali tuonesheni project ya Ruto, tuoneshe shule Ruto alijenga, because huyu mtu tunaongea tu stories that he wants to do multi-billion project, whereas we cannot even see a project in Eldoret North which we can equate to him. So bwana, Kenya revolutionary, these are some of the problems which we are having in our country. So let me return to the maiden thing. Hawa watu akina Morara and the rest who are saying they want to vie for presidency. In presidency is a reward of activism. That's what I want to say here. Presidency is a reward of activism. That's why even for me, people like Akina Kalonzo Musyoka, they are not doing enough. A press conference is not enough. There is what you can do as a person who owns people. Wacha niwaite hivi, kama mtu mwenye watu. Kalonzo Musyoka akona watu. Why can't we see him marshalling people and pushing against some of the things which Mr. Ruto is doing? Why can't we see him doing that? Because let me tell you, Bwana Kenyan revolutionary, Kenya cannot wait for you to vie. Between now and 2027, Kenya can go to the dogs. Kenya, our children could die. Our cows could die between now and 2027. So the first kura ambayo unapata ni lazima aende mashinani na apigane huko. So we need to see somebody who is challenging Ruto practically. So the problem which I'm seeing with these people, Bwana Kenyan revolutionary, is that these people are too theoretical. Hata Kalonzo Musyoka, the only thing naonanga akifanya ni kutokezea na karatasi na kusoma hapo mbele ya conference. Something which can be done by a regular Kenyan. That's what you do as an opposition leader. You have
Mr. Let me engage you a little bit. Right. So in this conversation we're having, we live in a society where we'll have a fair election, right? That's your premise, right? Is that logical? I know you're mathematician like me. Is that logical?
Yeah. So you are saying that we live in a premise where that we have a fair election. Is that what you say?
No, I'm asking you in your your presentation, you said this conversation about the government or the opposition is based on a free and fair election, right? No, you mute. But the point is,
Okay.
We can engage in that kind of conversation when we clearly know that's not a fair option because we don't have it. We don't have an election body. We know clearly we haven't had a fair election for a while. So that thought process fails. As a mathematician, you know you have to prove your theory, right? You can't prove it, right?
You see, a free and fair election depends on the both parties. Hakuna mtu atakulindia kura, you know that. The moment umesema unataka kusimama and you want to become a president, in theory and in practice, you need capacity to defend your vote. Otherwise, utakuwa unapeleka watu wako into a den whereby their votes will not be counted or will not matter. So, and it happens sababu globally, both the government and opposition, they can defend their votes against each other. That is why in some countries, the government usually get defeated, even in places whereby people still vote. I understand in Kenya, we don't have a free and fair election, but that one doesn't mean that we cannot impose it through civil action, through people doing the right thing and pushing what they want. The challenge which we have ni vile tunaruhusu serikali ifanye kila kitu. The government is procuring these people without involving us. The government we allow the government to tamper with the registers, and we also allow the government to tamper with the electronic system. Why? Because sisi kama raia, we have not reached the level whereby our experts can equally monitor what happened in those electoral system. Now,
no. That's Ms. Anjiro. I think you're not being genuine, and I'm not questioning you, but I'm questioning what you say. Kenya has a lot of smart intellectuals. The intellectuals who build Safaricom system, PESA system, the most successful money-to-money transfer globally, anywhere. You cannot tell me the same people cannot build a system which is fair and every vote is valid. The same way no money is really lost. So that I doubt that. On the other part, whatever you're saying is fair. My only thing I don't understand, and I fail to understand a conversation like that, is when we are talking about a system, but one person is only using the same system, right? Tunasema story ya constitution. Ruto hajatumia constitution for long. By now, IABC is not fair, and that's by itself, it's unconstitutional. What we did in parliament nullified the parliamentary thing. They're still there, right? The judiciary system is compromised, right? The IABC is not there, right? The person who will build it is a person who is selling everything and controls every aspect of our lives. So, as we engage, let's use the same common fact.
Let me say this before Njiru responds. I think Njiru is addressing it based on what happened in 2022. The biggest complaint, ukisoma ile pamphlet ya nani, it was a book by who is named Ole Kanchori, who was one of the Azimio's walikuwa naangalia kura, monitoring kura. His complaint was Azimio walikuwa hawana enough agents in most polling stations, because ideally you should be having Azimio agents na Kenya Kwanza in that elections ambao wote wana monitor, kwa sababu you have Azimio agent, Kenya Kwanza agent, then there's the IBC agent. So kura ikipigwa, wote wanaanza kuhesabu pamoja, alafu wote wanaweka sahihi, alafu hiyo kitu inatumwa kwa hiyo portal, alafu huyo anachukua ile certificate ambayo amesign na anapeleka Bomas or whatever the case is. So what he's arguing is this: tungekuwa na Azimio, their main complaint, wangekuwa na enough agents ambao walikuwa everywhere. Tulisikia ati Junet alikula pesa, whatever the case is, pesa ya ma agent. So if they were to protect the kura, maybe they could have stood a better chance ya overturn hizi elections, kwa sababu that's where maybe the mischief happened. There were not enough agents. And he's right. Hata nini za US, I'm sure KK, maybe you know that. Democrats and Republicans. In fact, if you remember the case in Arizona back in 2020, where in other places, Nevada, whatever, walikuwa na complain vile kura ilikuwa nahesabiwa in Georgia. The Republican agents were asked to leave the building. Unaona, now I can complain. That was a part of the lawsuit. So I think he has a valid point to make a case against.
I'm not supporting that. That theory is now. But what I'm saying is,
I know what you're saying. Your argument is the whole system is rotten. Yes. Right. I get what you're saying.
And it's set up on that on purpose. This is why already it should be functional. It's not functional already. So even if anything it does from now on, it should be unconstitutional. But it will not be found that way because the justice system is compromised already. It's the same things that we cannot know anymore.
So to his argument, and I think that's where he's saying wangekuwa na their agents in all these different polling stations, it could have been easier to prove that the elections was stolen and to expose the government for stealing the elections or whatever the case is. Not the government, but whoever stole the election, if the elections were stolen. That's an argument.
Can I help a little bit?
Yes,
let me help
go ahead.
A little bit on that. You see, the burden of proof is on the complainant, naturally. If you are the one who is complaining, you are the one with the burden of proof. If you are claiming, unless there is evidence which is beyond you, which is being brought by other sources and it is credible, the burden of proof is always on you. The problem which we have in the Kenyan electoral system is that, number one, majority of the people who vie for presidency, they never have capacity. Like they don't have capacity to marshal everything needed to make sure that there is a free and fair election. For you to have a free and fair election, it will also depend with you how you will employ your own machinery. Because we always say that election is an expensive affair. You need agents and you need experts. Such that unakuta like during other elections, you always used to hear that even Azimio used to say, we have our own experts. They used to have their own IT gurus who are to be following the election in tandem with what IBC is doing. Because you cannot only rely with what IBC is doing. So now what I mean here is that now the reason why we do that, it is because we do not trust each other, and we know that our system can be penetrated. And we know that the other opponent is looking for a way to penetrate the election system so that the election system can read it in his favor. So inakuanga ni mtego wa paka na panya. Leaving around that, there is also a side talk of IBC with the people who are vying, trying to auction the presidency. That is also another thing. So IBC wants to auction the presidency, but at the same time, you also want to make sure that whatever the IBC is reading is what you are financed for. So, like the problem which Raila Odinga had in 2022 is simple. Number one, you have trusted the government machinery, and he did not employ his own machinery as a candidate. The fact that now he had been supported by Uhuru, as it was, he thought that by design, let me sort of say that by design, the government machinery could have helped him and could have made sure that the election was waterproof, or it was theft-proof. But little did Mr. Raila Odinga know that the system he was relying on had also migrated to Mr. Ruto. So you are relying on a system which you think is on your side, and that system is with Mr. Ruto. and they are also doing their own engineering on the other direction. And that is why, and I want to explain something here, Kenyan revolutionary. That is why in any serious election, you are never declared a winner. You always hear that, like for example, when the American election was done, Donald Trump declared the win. And I want I will explain the reason why candidates declare wins in functional democracies. I'm not talking of places like ours where we have to wait for the IBC to declare you. In functional, and you know, that time, Mr. Donald Trump is an opposition guy. He is trying to push the government. But he knows he has employed his resources so well that his resources cannot be manipulated, and whatever data he is getting from the ground is the true data which even the government has. And that is why this guy will be confident to come out and declare a win. Question. In Kenya, even if you have resources, Bwana Kenyan revolutionary, can you come out and declare a win if IBC does not declare you? Can you come out? Is the question I'm asking you. Can you come out if IBC doesn't declare you?
Just a minute, then Melchizedek can quick. Just very quickly, I think in the American system, elections is a state issue. It's a statewide. So the person who declares the winner is the Secretary of State of that state, so to speak. Okay. So, but in Kenya we have one state, and the IBC ndio imepewa hiyo ninio ya kudeclare the winner. So wewe unaweza kuwa na the correct information, the correct data that you are receiving from your agents from the polling station.
But you are supposed to declare. Let me tell you where the Kenyan system fails.
Nasema hivi, but lawfully the IBC commissioner,
not IBC, before IBC, 1 minute, Kenyan revolution. I want to correct you. Where the Kenyan system is a failure is that we are supposed to have a system whereby hata tukuwa tumeketi kwa TV, we can be able to see a winner, and that winner can be able to come out, and IBC will just come and follow the footstep of the person who has declared. But the reason why we have allowed IBC to come in front of us is so that IBC can manipulate the election. The IBC can even sway. So ebu kama saini kuulize, the 3 elections which the IBC has declared, are you sure they declared the right person? Are we sure?
But the constitution imepatia IBC commissioner, the chairperson, not commissioner, the chairperson, to be the person to declare who wins. So
no, it's not about that. That one I don't get. But why is it that presidential candidates in Kenya, they don't declare victory? Because you are supposed to declare victory as a candidate.
That's what I'm telling you. Sheria inasema, constitution inasema the chairperson of the IBC is the one who declares the winner.
Nimeketi kwa TV, 1 minute. Nimeketi kwa TV, I can see the tabulation. You know, we are trying to discuss. I can see the tabulation. The election is on my direction. Why should I not? Unaona kama Donald Trump. Let me give you an example of Donald Trump.
I agree with you.
Donald Trump, 1 minute. Donald Trump has not been declared the president yet. Lazima you electoral college iende yesabiwe. There is a cycle. There is a cycle which happens. But there is something which I want you to get me. Why is it that in Kenya, I have my own result as a presidential candidate? Nimekuwa nikifuata uchaguzi. We have been following what is happening in the precincts. Why is it as a candidate, I cannot get out and declare, and what I'm declaring is what IBC has? Kwa nini IBC hawataki ni declare?
Na kujibu hivi, in America wanaenda county to county, Wayne County, whatever county, wananinio, alafu unaweza kutabulate based on the county. If ninio ikisha county, hizo county zote zikimalizika, ninio the secretary of state ya hiyo state wana declare, because in America the ninio is not federal, the elections are not federal, it's a state by state, wana declare hapa umeshinda. But in the US, just hold on, hang on. But in US, the constitution says that the IBC commission ndio declare. Now I agree with you nani Jiru kisema kwa nini hatu declare hivyo, kwa sababu wewe unaweza kupiga hesabu yako kama vile Raila alihesabu akaona ameshinda akaanza kuweka carpet, but the chairperson maybe alikuwa ameshahongwa au Ruto alimpigia simu akamthreaten na kwambia nitakuua, but because by law the chairperson is the person who is supposed to declare the winner. Unaona, even though ukipiga hesabu unaona yenyewe umeshinda, lakini huyo chairperson anakuambia. So that's why I'm saying our laws and how we declare the winner in US and Kenya is different. Sorry nani, KK, you want to say something? Najua Melchizedek alikuwa anataka kusema kitu before KK. Melchizedek kuna kitu ya kusema before KK aseme. Sorry for ninyoku. Melchi.
Sasa mumeongea mpaka nimesahau kile nilikuwa nataka kusema.
Sawa, patia nani KK basi, alikuwa na point kali. KK. Sasa KK pia amekwama, sio ameenda kuongeza bia ama.
Speak a little bit.
Yeah.
You bring a very nice topic which is making sense. That's nice. He has been my friend for long. I don't know if he knows me, but forget about it if you don't get it. There is something that you are trying to say which is making sense, because each and every of us here where we are now, we are not within our country, if I'm not wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm talking about the 4 people we have here. And each and every place you are, there is a system of election which is very, very different with our country system. And on my side, I already witnessed one. The way they are doing it is very different with the system in Kenya, where they don't take a vote like we have a vote card. They are doing it very funny, and it's very smart, that even if you want to steal, maybe you're very smart, and everything is open. So when you win, everyone will know that Jiro has won or KK has won. But in Kenya, I started by saying this. Each and every person that we are talking about, they have their own people that they already bribe, and they are doing their own thing the way they want it. But at the back of their mind, they are coming and lying for us that this is the right thing. Because when you see how these things are being run, even the Asimio and Kenya Kwisha, they did this election. It was not something that we can say it was free and fair. First of all, I want to say that those who are there as IBC, these people, they already paid. They know the winner even before you know it, because of the system. We are using the system, but we are not using the actual figures that we are supposed to use to announce the winner. You know, there is a way of announcing the winner, and there is a way of using the system. If you are working in IT, you will understand what I'm trying to say. And when you are working as a blogger, you also understand what I'm trying to say. So in Kenya, we have a system. We don't have the actual figure of announcing someone to be a winner, but we are using what is called the system. A system, you can do anything you want. Even right now, I can take KK, I put where the Kenya Rebel is, and I come there, if I'm not wrong, right? These things, they are being used systemically, and they are
Yes,
making.
you're right. As an IT expert, I'll tell you, you're right. Mondo, you're right.
They are making Kenya to feel like we have already gone ahead of other countries, but we are behind those countries because of what we are trying to say. Another thing that making Kenya to be the way it is, we like wash. Am I saying this? If Kenya Rebel has its channel, Milky will have his channel, and I will pick only a small topic from KK channel. I will come with it in my channel, but I will make it as a something I'm the one who invent. But the person, the owner of the owner of what? The channel is now saying bullshit there. This is what we are trying to make Kenya to be. Until now, we cannot say what is happening because once we have decided to constitute IEBC, the question is, are they genuine? That's the first question that we should ask ourselves. The second question that we should ask ourselves, those who want to be vie for the presidency, are they seeing what wananchi are passing through? If we answer all these questions, then we will save Kenya. But if we are going because of nani alijenga nyumba kwao, sasa yeye ni mzuri, that one is not the way we will win or we will change Kenya. But if we go and know very well that Jiru is someone that is genuine, very truthful and trustworthy, which is very, very difficult for us to find in Kenya. We can only find it maybe in Golgotha or Almas, where some people are very genuine. But in Kenya, I'm telling you, even you today, you say that you want to vie for the president, the mind will change and you start bullying people. I hope I'm done with my submission.
Thank you very much. All right, let's make our final submission. Unfortunately, Jiru umekuja kuchelewa lakini ni sawa. Wacha nifunge duka, kesho is Saturday, tutaendelea pia, lakini endelea Jiru.
Yeah, before I make my final subscription, you have to allow me say this.
Sawa.
I know maybe kama kuna pahali unaenda, kama ni date, pole sana, piga simu, mwambie tu tulia kidogo. We are changing our country na unajua ile wakati maybe this is the most important point for Kenyans.
Okay.
Or for your channel. Unajua
Okay.
lazima tuingie katika hizi channel so that they can grow together because we want these voices of dissent to be everywhere. You see, when Kenyan revolutionary, there is something which is not working in Kenya. And I have to be clear with you. Other than the guys of second liberation, wale akina Matiba who actually lost their lives as they were fighting for Kenya, we have not seen another wave of people who can really push the government so that the government does not attack people. To the extent now, the government has escalated its war to the regular citizen. Majority of the people who are being abducted are regular citizens. Ni raia na kitu, ni jamata hajakula. Those are the people who are being abducted. It's only that of recent past, they started now abducting even some MPs here and their former. But wale watu wameumia sana because of the frequent abductions za serikali wamekuwa ni raia. Until now, hiyo story ikakuwa too much, then sasa ndio sasa hata mabwenyenye wakaanzia kuingililia. So what do I mean by that? We are at a point whereby the Kenyan government has stooped so low. Unajua ukionanga serikali inakimbizana na raia, mtu ana chochote, huyo mtu wa mkokoteni ambaye alikuwa anaambiwa atatoroa from down to up. Huyo mtu wa mkokoteni sasa, saa hii huyo mtu wa mkokoteni akisema Ruto must go, he is now the person who is being attacked by the government. So when you see the government propagating all its effort, ama serikali imeanzia kudhuru raia, you need to know that that government is ready for anything. What we always know is that serikali inapigananga na watu wakubwa. lakini serikali ikujangi huku mashinani inakuwa inapigana na raia mdogo mdogo. Lakini when you see serikali imeanzia sasa, hata huyu raia mdogo mdogo, serikali iko hapo. Serikali, they have declared one thing: we are using force. Everything which we are doing is force, and it has to be done according to what we are doing. And that is where now Kenya is. Now Kenya is a forceful state, is a police state, is a dictatorial state, whereby kuna kitu unaweza sema saa hii Kenya tukusahau. We are in that point, like voices of dissent are not being taken as voices of whereby, like, unajua saa zingine hata wale watu criticize serikali sana, serikali inaendanga huko na wanachukua point, lakini siku hizi ni ku-criticize serikali ukiendanga. That's now where we are. So, and the people are developing cold feet. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that now we have lost the power to defend ourselves, because defense ya raia ni criticism. That is the defense ya raia. Lazima raia apinge. Raia anaambua tutafanya hivi, anasema hatuwezi. Defense ya raia ni kupinga. But the moment when the government decides to block a disagreement within the public spaces, you need to know that now the government has transcended to the path of dictatorship. And no wonder now we are hearing stories like Mr. Ruto want a 7th term here. He has bought he is the first president in the history of the world, by the way. Hata Marekani ameweleba, he is the first, Mr. Ruto is the first president in the history of the world to have cajoled the opposition, na opposition inakuwa ndio hata serikali kuliko serikali. I don't know. Ukisikiliza akina Junet Mohammed feels to be more government than the government itself. I hope
he has outrooted Ruto.
Yeah. Sasa wako huko kwa serikali kabisa. That's why nakwambia sasa, it is good to analyze this ya Ruto vile anacheza. He can take the opposition and the opposition becomes government more than government itself. Saa hii vitu hata Ruto haamini ndani ya serikali, opposition ndio hata inaamini sana. Hata vitu zingine no, you have also to agree with those efforts, and you have to round Ruto for that, for managing to hoodwink the opposition. Some of the people, we had a lot of belief in them. You know, many of us, we were in opposition. That's how watu sasa wako kwa serikali, sasa ndio wameingia kwa serikali na miguu na kichwa. We believed in them. We believed in them. Mimi nimekuwa nikifikiria mtu kama Junet Mohammed ni kiongozi mbaya sana. Joho nimekuwa nikifikiria tu ni kiongozi 01 mbaya sana. Until jamaa karamba power kidogo. Si hata akaingia tu kwa corridor ya State House tu kidogo tu hivi. Jamaa akatupindukia mbaya sana. Now he is the part of things that tutafuta some of us who are online. No, I'm talking at that. No, huyo ndiye amekuwa mtetezi wa raia. That is the same guy. We used to sing naye column kama mbaya.
Kama mbaya lakini sasa amekula mkombero na juu.
I want to see how far these people have gone to the extent sasa wao ndio watetezi wa serikali, wao ndio hata wanajua ndani ni nani sasa. Even as the government is losing people like Gachagua and his allies, now ODM has inherited that, and now sasa they are now ready to push that. What does it mean? That means ODM is soon going to receive its natural death. And I don't think ODM will be able to produce a president in the future. I think they will have to rebrand. Maybe itabidi wakuja na jina ingine, because Ruto is on a destruction mission. He is on a destructive mission. Anajaribia yeye mwenyewe. And that's why umeona of late, hata Raila Odinga mwenyewe, he is not receiving the much support which he has been receiving. For the first time, unasikia hata there are some Kenyans who are even praying for his failure in AU. Unasikia hata Wakenya wakisema, this guy doesn't need to win there. Because now people have seen, this is a guy who has now betrayed the cause of the people. And the unfortunate part is that he has betrayed the cause of the people in the 11th hour. The guy is in 82 years. At the time when he was supposed to exit politics in honor, na ati ameambia vijana sasa endeleeni pambaneni na serikali. Yeye akasema, the remaining few years of my life, wacha nikule. So that is the unfortunate part which happened. Because we expect people when they are reaching their sunset years, That is the time when unawekelea all the veil chini na unasema nimepambana nao watu nimeshindwa, but you don't join them because Mr. Raila Odinga has gone on the path of destroying the legacy of even his own family. I don't know how somebody like Raila Odinga Jr., if in any case he will ever come back to people, despite the fact that he might want to play as somebody who might want even to criticize what the father is doing. But sasa ameachia watoto eggshell, including even Winnie Odinga herself. I don't think Winnie Odinga will be able to come and present herself as a national leader again. Because as you are presenting yourself as a national leader,
Njiro. Let me ask you a question. Nini, what's the biggest issue with worshiping people with family ties? Wili ni nani? Kwani wazazi wetu akuza? This mindset is very terrible. And let me finish.
No, it's not a mindset. 1 minute, Bwana Captain. Let me tell you something.
Bro, it's not good.
Oh, no, I know it is not good. But let me tell you, 1 minute, 1 minute. Tulia kidogo, tulia kidogo.
We can push the
for her, my friend, so that this issue to end up. Go ahead.
You see the reason why family ties matter, because unajua leadership, 80% of leadership comes from family, because these are the people with money and people with goodwill. Even in America, chances of huyu kijana wa Donald Trump to become a president, 1 minute, is close to 50%. Even without starting, kuna kitu tunaitanga name. Unaona sasa kama kijana ya Uhuru sahi akitokezea, Uhuru Kenyatta kijana yake atokezea, the name itself imemkataput. They are called names. So, and these names are figurative.
Yes,
people
like
identify with them.
Right?
So, like ndio kama unaona mtu kama Okiya Mtata, somebody like Okiya Mtata, he has to do more work, because Okiya Mtata has to first of all market the name. Then after marketing the name, he has now to market the idea. Lakini kijana wa Raila,
unasema kama Obama unasema nani?
Yani, if you don't have a name, you begin by marketing the name. That's why unaona sasa, unaona like any 1 minute, do you know any person who does that? That's why you see name is important, because name helps you to navigate so many other things. Name, jina ni pesa, by the way. Jina ni branding. It is brand. Na utakuta hata watoto wale wanazaliwa kwa familia ya kina Uhuru, many of them will want to call themselves Kenyatta. Yeah? Even if Kenyatta is that, everybody will want to call himself Kenyatta, because that Kenyatta name is a brand by itself. You don't need to do a lot of work to market yourself or to tell people who you are. That's why unaona akina Okiya Mtata, including hata huyu Morara Kebaso, the name, the fact that kuna mtu alikuja kutuambia there was another Morara, I think in the 70s, who was also doing the same. Sasa watu wakaanzia kuconnect. But I'm saying, I'm talking of, if you don't have a name, you do two jobs. You are building the name and you are building on the policy, on the idea. That's why unaona sasa watu kama Okiya Mtata. I'm not saying that Okiya Mtata cannot become the president, but he has to do two jobs. He has to build the name. Actually, Okiya Mtata, if he has to become the Kenyan president, he has to do more work than Sharin Ruto. If Sharin Ruto had declared she want to become the president, because unajua Sharin Ruto has the blessing of the name Ruto. So kitu ya kwanza mtu tu akisikia tu Ruto anasema former president, ama mtu akisikia Kenyatta anasema this. People might reject that even if there is a name. So what I mean in a nutshell is names have recognition and they have power. And somebody like Raila Odinga, and you can destroy the name. Na mwenye jina anaweza jaribu, na ndio nasema sasa Raila Odinga is on the path of destroying Odinga name. I don't know, maybe in other communities it is destroyed, but hata kwa Wajaruo it is not resting in peace, because that name is not very good now, because people seem like it's like they have understood him. Lastly, as I put now my closing remark, ili bwana Revolution sasa aende kule anataka kuenda, I know it is on a Friday, watu lazima waende wakule mandazi na mapochopocho. Unaweza kuwa pengine pia
wewe kazi yako una speech yako ni 10 minutes.
No, I had to place that point so
that man, bro.
Okay, let me put my point
now. Everything concise. Let people lose.
No, we cannot be concise when you don't have food. Lazima tupige. Anyway, in a nutshell, let me put my conclusion.
Ndio date yangu
kila wakati. I'm like, what are you saying?
Ndio date yangu asiwachane na mimi.
Okay, usijali captain. Anyway, captain hata sijai kuja kwa hii kipindi yenu for so long. So today you have to allow me to nag you. Otherwise ukianzia
nitakuja kwa channel yako kesho kama utafungua. So usijali.
Anyway, in a nutshell, Ruto must go. Let me conclude that way. Ruto must go. I hope that is the hashtag which is trending here. Nimeona hata majaji siku hizi wameanzia kupingana na yeye. Lenaora is out there. I hope he is genuine. You think that we have to request now for the IBC commissioners, officials, is too much. So the government is also in shambles now. The government is talking to itself. And we have to allow those voices of dissent inside the government to continue transcending to us. Na pia sisi kama raia, we have to start now requesting for this thing. Because Ruto is there to serve us. If he is a person to supervise the reconstruction of IBC, he has to do it because he is being paid to do that. Wanatuitisha kodi na kodi yetu wanaitisha kwa fujo. So lazima kazi pia wafanye kwa fujo. You can know if you don't pay taxes wanakukujia. But when it comes to them serving us, wanaanzia kujivuruta. In that level, we cannot allow the government to dildal and say that hii kitu tutafanya what. But we understand the reason why he doesn't want to reconstitute IBC. It is because he wants IBC to do shambolic job. He doesn't want IBC to be prepared. So if he is able to reduce the term of IBC, the better for him. Because IBC will not be prepared, so IBC will use the status quo, and the status quo favors Ruto. Mnajua, saba inasoma yeye. Maybe pengine asha karabati saba. Na saba inasoma yeye. Na kura ya 2027 ishawekwa kwa saba. So ile IBC tatolewa, alafu sasa IBC kutolewa, someni wapendo. So sisi tunaingia pale. So we have to be careful. Maybe IBC ya 2027 ni rubber stamp. Thank you.
Yeah.
Subscribe
Thank
my
you very
channel
much.
at Jiro Mwaura
Absolutely.
Talk Room. Tukutane huko.
Haya, shukran sana. Thank you for blessing the channel. Hata mimi nitakuja huko nikusalimie, tuongee kidogo. Asante nani. Sijui nianze na Keke. Amenyamaza sana. Keke, ama unataka kwenda mwisho? Najua wewe upenda kwa kwenda mwisho, but it's up to you.
No, let me go now.
Okay. Na usianze story kama Njiru. Unajua atatukalisha hapa, yeye amekaa huko West Coast, ni saa moja, sijui ni saa ngapi, ni asubuhi.
No, Njiru anasikia kila mtu time, man. Hii word salad haifai.
Wacha Njiru ako poa, Njiru ako sawa. Njiru ni mtu wa nguvu. Njiru ni mtu wa nguvu mpaka umwache aongee. Mpaka umpatie microphone.
Hakuna mtu anaongea mpaka malize, like dude man, kwani tunaishi dictatorship man? Anyway,
ni mara yake ya kwanza hapa, so mpaka tumpatie nafasi, tumwekee red carpet. Next time tutamwambia order. Haya, KK.
Good to see you by then, Njiru. So I'll start from here actually. So I would see what at Panani. And this is what unites us. Njiru ako different angle, level. Modo ako different angle. Wewe, if you go back to whatever, most of us are blocked. Bernard's channel, most of us, I was blocked. But let me start from here. I think kuna wenye, some of us, tunaangalia what is happening. I think there are three options, and I want us to focus on three things. The government bloggers and their families. Their family, all of them. Kome and their family. Sakaja and their families. We cannot be fighting some within ourselves where we're trying to save country for kila mtu. We're not saving our own country for Njiru, Kenya Rebel, Mondo hapa. We're fighting country for all of us, even the cops who are killing us. So, hii mchezo tucheze. Sakaja anauza nini Uhuru Parks as we speak. I'm a list, right? Let that man, familia yake yote, live in fear. Because hii si mchezo. We will not allow these kind of stupid games with our country. These have gone too far. Because as we joke about Jui IBC, Uhuru Park imeuzwa, right? Somebody is making money out of it. Please, please, please. Let's see the actions, follow the actions as we discuss the garbage that they're making us talk about. But Sakaja, his family, all of us will know where they live, and they have to live in the same consequences they're pushing on us. Mother Koome is the first one that need to know, even abroad, they have to live in the same fear they're doing for all the Kenyans. Hii si mchezo. Hatutaitikia kuuzwa nchi yetu na stupid people, selfish people. So our future is dead. And that future, we will not, and we will not ever let these people sell our country. Hatuna nchi nyingine. Wazazi wetu hawana place nyingine wanaenda. Familia zetu hakuna place nyingine wanaenda. Our future, our 4 kids hawana place nyingine wanaenda. So we have to protect this place. Ruto ameshaiuza abroad. If you don't understand, World War III. Imeshauzwa. This is why this person has to die.
Hey, we wacha kusema mambo ya kifo bwana. Usianze kuthreaten watu. Watanifungia show hapo.
Sisemi hivyo. Unajua Mungu wako.
Anasema governance yake. Sio mtu. Anazima governance yake. Governance yake ndio.
Okay.
The governance has to die.
His rule administration. Haya. Maliza keki ya mono mambo mengine. Mi date yangu hata itaniwacha saa hizi kwa sababu ya
mjukuu. Nimeshamaliza kaka.
Shukran.
Bwana Revolutionary, you have a comment, you have a chat with me. Please respond to me. We can do to and fro with each other.
Okay. At the same time, you mean?
Kuja kwangu na stream. Just read and maybe you can confirm. Nikikuja kesho at least so that our audiences can benefit.
Yeah, kesho utaingia saa ngapi? Lakini uko side different ni. Okay.
No, kesho usually I broadcast at immediately after news ya Kenya. That is 9:30 p.m. Kenyan time.
Okay.
That's when I start. Kama unaanga news ya Kenya immediately after 9 around 9:30 hapo naingia kwa show. So nasukuma mpaka 11 time ya Kenya, 11:12 nafunga. So if you have time that I hope now you can relate time ya Kenya na time yako. Can you be available at 9:30 Kenya time?
Yeah.
Njiro.
Okay. Yes.
Njiro. Before we specific, uko side gani? Sio sema nini kwenye like village kwenye naishi like area. San Francisco, LA.
Yeah, I'm in the central time.
Central, see west.
Najua watu ni San Francisco. Sasa wanakuuliza.
Njiro wako hapa ninio inaitwaje? Kilgoris hapa, Kilgoris.
Don't worry. Tutajua
nani. Haya. Yeah, nani unaweza kustream, you can stream from my channel. I don't know what you need me to do.
No. Like hata nimeona you can just stream it. I think kama hapa nikiingia tu nikufinya tu channel yangu na I think inatupa. I think it can as long as we have a channel, eh?
Yeah. I don't mind. Unaweza itumia, sitakuletea shida yoyote. You can always stream it whatever time. Hata ukiingia unataka kunio, so I have no problem. Yeah, by the way, people subscribe to Njiru, ndio hiyo nini hapo nime highlight, mwende mkasubscribe huko. KK ndio huyo ataenda saa hizi. Moda, tufungie show. Maana sasa date yangu hata imeniwacha sasa, sijui hata niko depressed. Sawa, shukran nani Njiru.
No, ina shida. Kama huyo date wako kwa serious atakuja.
Sasa hii Njiru ametupokeza hii maneno ya kumeza redio.
Haya, funga moda funga. Na ukue brief jamani. Hey.
Mimi sina neno mingi sahi. Mimi nikishaongea namalizanga polepole hivi. That's how I am. So I don't want to talk more.
Haya, sawa basi, kesho mimi nitakuja hiyo time ninio. Tutaingia hiyo saa Jimmy amesema 9:30 10 ya Kenya. I'll try to kesho hakuna game kali. Unajua nimependa kandanda, lakini kila mtu subscribe, go to Njiru's channel. Njiru, as you see the name there, Njiru Mwaura Talk Room YouTube. Ndio hiyo nime highlight. Muende mka subscribe, mshare, mcomment na mumjoin akiweka link, mumjoin muongee na yeye. Nilimuona kwa Shiroa Auckland ama nini, lakini najua mimi sielewi Kisapere, lakini nilikuwa namuona huko akiwakilisha. So
Shiko Auckland.
Shiko Auckland. Niliona Njiru huko, alafu ndio nikajulia channel ya Njiru. Sikujua hata kuna YouTube. But I'm glad. So niko subscribe huko. So go subscribe on Njiru's channel, everyone. Like, share, comment, and do all the stuff. Thank you so much, Njiru. Thank you so much, Nani, Moda. Na Keke kama kawaida. Tutafutie yule rafiki yako Captain, sijui alienda wapi bwana. Amepotea. But thank you guys. I'm out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace and blessings. I'm out.